Hey, they would do that AC on Thursday, Friday. It looks like, right, that's your guy, not mine. Come on. Yeah, I know.
That's right outside. Outside of there on 29. Yeah, I know, so right here.
Why is yours looking this time? Why it's not?
We're back.
Yeah, last time. I'm not public society though. Those are public. The other ones are guys in like Walmart.
You got new donuts?
Don't need it. These are from public. The other ones are from Walmart.
Right.
These are from public. Where shopping is a pleasure.
I didn't know we had new donuts.
It's good.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Look like a spider web.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He sets up first.
Call this meeting to order. We will start the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors is scheduled for Friday, August 13th, 2021 at 9 a.m. at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. We have the consent agenda. Need a motion?
So moved.
We have a second? Okay. Any comment from the board? Okay, hearing none, any other comment? Okay, Kristen.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Harrod,
Yes.
Supervisor Hoteling,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. The action agenda, resolution number 2021-07, 27-19, a resolution of the Sun and Lake City Improvement District to approve revisions to the district policy manual. And is that you, Omar, or Dan?
Good morning, Supervisors. Omar Jesus, Finance Director. Part of the policy manual, one of the requirements is for the district general manager to review the district manual on an annual basis and see if there's any recommended changes. During our strategic meeting plans, we decided that we felt it was necessary to try and increase the, eliminate the piggyback contract time limit, which is the biggest change we recommending. So right now, there's a provision that only allows us to piggyback the contract is 12 months or newer. We'd like to just eliminate that altogether. And then we've added an extra provision if it is older than 24 months, then we would have to provide an additional quote to substantiate that piggyback contract. Some other changes that we increased were the purchasing limits. So we're changing the department heads from $500 to $5,000, the finance director from $1,000 up to $5,000, and the general manager for anything over $10,000. We would not make any changes to the board approval. That would still stay at the $25,000 limit. And then we would change the RFP threshold from $25,000 to $50,000. That was the majority of the changes, or the majority in the purchasing policy. If there's any other changes, we did make some grammar changes as far as wording and titles, but no other policies were changed in this revision.
Yeah, one of the questions I had was in regards to eliminating the capitalization of titles. I'm not sure why we did that.
So we wanted to make it consistent. We're either going to go with capitalizing them all if that's the proper grammar, or we're going to just make them all lowercase. Based on the proper, if it's not directly, so if it's finance director Omar de Jesus, it's referring to someone, then that would be capitalized. If it's just the finance director, then the proper grammar is not for it not to be capitalized. So we're going to make the document consistent throughout, is why that change was made to this next revision. Once again, it's kind of a minor thing, but we just want the document to be consistent throughout.
Yeah, I understand the need for consistency, and I understand need and style, but I'm not sure that the right thing to do here, because the capitalization helps you know that we're talking about the proper position as opposed to just something. I personally like the capitalization. I don't know how the other board members feel about that. But it's a minor point. Yeah, it's something that sort of caught my attention. The bigger ones that I brought up was our GM at my meeting with him was on page 5. The minor point is we're not using the ampersand for us in page 1202. We added and restaurant and ampersand. I would use the And then, we don't have, listed there in the organization, the functional areas of marketing and community relations. I would add that as a functional area or clarify that it's part of operations and maintenance. I think in talking with Dan, we thought that probably should be separate.
I shared that with them this morning, but we're just gonna change that. We'll make that revision. I think we'll remove public works as well, as that's redundant. If we have roads and drainage, public works is road, so we'll make those changes in community services and marketing to that dynamic. We did change the mission and vision statement. Not sure if you guys had a chance to review, if you guys agree, that was something that we came up with. Strategic plan meeting, so I wanted everyone to be on board with kind of what the mission is for Sun Lake going forward and what our vision. Once again, that's something that we're trying to do internally for cultural purposes for our employees to know exactly what our purpose is, what we do here. I think that's a better. I can't even remember the last time that mission statement was. It was time for a change.
I had one real quick question. I don't know if it's when you guys raised the $5,000, do you have to, I'm not asking if you have to get approval from Dan or the general manager, or do you just throw that by somebody, or is it just whatever you want to do?
So really this overall impact, so let's give an example. Let's say Ariel wanted to come and buy something for $3,000. Her purchasing requirements would still, because it's an over $1,000 requirement, she would still have to go initiate a PO from our accounting clerk, who would then put it in the system. It would go through the approval process, and then either she or myself or Dan would have to do the necessary approvals to issue that PO. Once she obtains that PO, then she can go out and acquire that product. So there's still checks and balances and internal controls that are in place, even with these new limit amounts.
Thank you. I just had a question. I should have asked Dan yesterday and forgotten some.
You know, one of the reasons why this came up is, let's say, Dan was on vacation 3 weeks ago and there was a Duke Energy bill for $1,000. Well, right now his limit is $1,500, so we couldn't cut that check until Dan came back, because we need a $1,500 approval for Duke Energy from Dan to cut a check. So it's kind of slowing us down. One of our main points in our strategic plan was, improving vendor relations in the community. And for us to hold a $1,500 payment because one person's out of office is kind of absurd. So we want to make that change so we can get our vendors paid on time and get a little bit more time than payment process.
That sounds fine, but the other thing is, there was only 2 days that you could pay a bill.
What do you mean 2 days?
I mean, if it was held up 2 days.
It was out for a week, so that whole week, anything that was over his limit wouldn't be able to get paid for that week. When he came back, we could go back and approve. But because of his limit's so low, anything over that $1,500 threshold can't get paid.
Okay. Any other comment from the board?
I have one question on page 10. Getting the agenda for supervisor for days before the meeting. Not enough.
What number?
Certainly, the agenda for a special meeting, 24 hours before the meeting. To me, that is not enough time. So.
Yeah, like I said, that's probably the worst case scenario. On average, we try to get you your agenda packets a week in advance. So we get you, let's say the meeting was Tuesday, we got your packets last Tuesday. Meeting on Friday, we did Friday before, so we go to 7 days. This is basically saying we can't do it no less than 4 days before a meeting. That would be kind of.
Yeah, the next one, 24 hours before a special meeting.
Which, once again, I don't see that ever happening. I don't think that. We probably need to reword that. So to have a special meeting, we need 2 weeks of posting. There has to be an agenda for us to do that. That's worst case scenario. We could do a meeting with them, but I've never seen that happen. That's if we had let's say there was a severe emergency and we needed to call a special meeting for, I don't know, let's say a lift station or a water plant went down. We could do it within, but we have to meet this 24-hour deadline.
Just so I bring it up.
I think that's the worst case scenario. But if you're not comfortable with it, we can certainly amend it to be whatever we feel. But
Stuck out on it, right?
if it's something, something we really have to move on. We don't really want to waste a couple of days waiting for you to read this. In a special meeting, it would be only one part. It's not, full agenda.
Number 6 was highlighted just for clarification. There was some discussion on who can add items to the agenda. Number 6 says any board member, so only one board member can request the general manager to add an agenda item. And that's how it's placed on there. There's been conversations in the past of whether it would be 2 supervisors or, but it clearly says one board member can do that to give an agenda item.
It would be difficult for 2 because we can't converse with each other outside of the public meeting.
Excuse me, supervisors, I don't believe we got a motion in a second. And this is a resolution.
No, we're not, we haven't had public comment.
Yeah, but we cannot discuss a resolution without a motion in a
I'm
second.
sorry.
I move to approve.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Tracy. Any other comment?
I can't. I have a hard time understanding that we have standard monthly bills. And if you're telling me that we have to go through a procedure every single time to pay these, it just seems archaic to me that we can't, standard bills, electricity, whatever the case may be, they're standard. Why are we going through this process?
Good question.
If we can't,
You don't have an answer for that?
So I guess my answer would be is we cut checks weekly. There should never be, it's not like we wait once a month to cut checks. So if a check is missed 1 week, it's gonna get processed in the next. There's never a real reason why something should go delinquent or past due more than 30 days. That should never happen. We may miss a week for someone if someone has a funeral and has to be gone for a week, maybe checks will be cut for a week, but it's not gonna be the end of the world if we cut them the next week when they get back. So we cut checks weekly, we run checks weekly. Which is.
it's a comment that if it takes that,
The way the
if it
policy.
takes that oversight in order to run that office, we got serious problems.
Which that's what we're trying to change. We're trying to make it more lax right now. The oversight.
So we're still asking for approval on everything. I'm talking about standard monthly bills that come in and that have to go through this process. That's, I think, is archaic. And if that's what it takes in order to run that office, we've got serious problems.
Let me ask you this one, I forgot to mention this. In the 18 history, what just came out that we approved, just a TWQ, we paid them 7 payments of $450 for my monthly service at one time. So the 70 paid 7 months worth. I need you to look at it because that's ridiculous. We're hoping about resources up for 7 months.
TWQ's a trees.
I mean, he can look at it and get back to me. This TWQ, we paid, there was one check that we sent them. 2 payments of $500. 1 payment of $48.50 was for community center. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more payments of $450, 500 for service. Actually, the 500 is 500 for service.
Which may have been TWQ, maybe they had a billing issue on their side and they didn't turn in invoices till this month. And we got.
I forgot to mention this, that does look suspicious, so if you will check it out.
And that's exactly what happened. They didn't,
get all the bills in, so. That's exactly what happened. They didn't get all their bills in. They did a couple of jobs here and there. And, you know, like tree removal or stump grinding or whatever, and they kind of bunched everything together, so.
Okay, we have a bi-monthly agreement.
Well,
We have an agreement.
we have an agreement with them on the boulevard and the district office for chemicals and you know, weed control and things like that. And so I don't know what that one is, but
This says landscaping.
Right.
So
they're, I mean, they're,
Standard.
check it out myself. Hopefully it's a historical record, so I'm not.
Yes.
Correct.
Anything else from the supervisor?
I would make a comment that we have billing software that may not be the latest and the greatest, and we wind up working for it sometimes instead of it working for us. But it's also expensive to replace, so it's not only that, but it's also tracking your equipment. There's a lot of different things that are in there, as well as billing for the water and sewer. So it's all mingled together. Be pretty expensive to replace.
Multnomah County Supervisors comment on the capitalization. It's throughout the report, but they've changed the capitalization so that general manager is now lowercase instead of uppercase, or the supervisors is now lowercase rather than uppercase. It's a preference issue, and staff has changed everything to lowercase, and I think that the title should still be uppercase.
I did not have a strong opinion.
I don't think we have a strong opinion either. We just want it to be consistent throughout the document. It doesn't matter. If you want it capital, with capital.
Yeah. Even if it's comments.
I don't know.
Sorry to get staff direction. Or no opinions, and I'm not preferring capitalization.
I was surprised, I was surprised with proper grammar not having them capitalized, we visually it looks that should be capitalized, just because you are, so we'll just make it consistent, we'll go with that route. And it's capitalized.
Capitalize. Okay. Wasting way too much time.
Policy revisions.
Any public comment? Hey, Chrissy?
Supervisor Brooks. Supervisor Harrod,
Yes.
Supervisor Hoteling,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Resolution 2021-07-27-20, a resolution of the Sun and Lake Sebring Improvement District to contract and its blank for executive improvement services to fill general and operations manager vacancies. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Who's gonna take the lead on this?
So at the last meeting, there was a consensus to go ahead and try and find a recruiter for the general manager and the operation, particularly those two positions. And what we did is we found another government entity who was already done an RFP, and they had, I believe, almost 7 or 8 responses. What we did is we reached out to the award-winning bidder, and then we reached out to 2 other Florida companies who were also in that bid list. 2 of them have responded saying they were interested. One of them being cost not to exceed $22,900, and the other one is providing a total not to exceed 25%. It was total not to exceed 30,000, but their compensation is 25% of whatever the salary award is. So if it's a $100,000 salary, they're going to get paid $25,000.
Plus cost.
plus cost travel, but not to exceed the $30,000. So Renee Narlock is the 22.9 total, not total cost with cost, the other is $30,000 not to exceed.
I think I should say that I asked Omar to do this because obviously I'm involved. So I thought it would be better that we have an individual who is not involved to discuss it with the group. I should also say that it's up to you guys. If you want to start recruiting a general manager today, that's fine. I would also tell you though that the winning bidder said he couldn't start until September. So if you
This is not what the board agreed to last week, sorry.
You're wrong. What did you agree to?
We agreed that we would interview this Mr. Schumacher, get a feel for him, come to this meeting, be prepared to discuss them. If we were not happy with them, we would then proceed with an executive recruiter, deciding on an executive review.
So there was a comment by Supervisor Herrick, who also said, regardless of the meetings with Chris Schumacher, you wanted to see other candidates to the table to then make a
But that was
decision.
one comment by one.
And there was a consensus, and we said, we'll come back to the board with this. So that was the minutes, and that's why we went out and got these quotes.
Well, let's start with the first place. Did we talk to Schumacher? Like we said.
three of you have.
Three of us have. I don't know how we said we were gonna give Schumacher a shot. So how do you decide on hiring another company when we all saw?
That's up to you guys. You tell us what you want us to do. That's what we'll do.
I would agree with that, and I talked with Dan about setting up a meeting for me, and I think Commissioner Eric is also on that with Chris yet. But I would like to meet with him before we spend money on a recruiter, because buying or hiring somebody who we think can do the job without a recruiter is going to be cheaper than hiring a recruiter.
If I read this correctly, both of these people, both of these headhunters are going to take money up front as soon as salary. Correct. Well, I'm not ready to take money up front until we decide on Schumacher.
I'm not even,
I agree.
and I have a question. Did we get the report back from HR yet?
No.
So we do not have a description of the, is that correct?
Operations person?
Yes,
No, that's correct.
okay. So,
What's the status on that?
Good question. Our HR person is out this week, and so I don't, unless everyone has any more information.
Yeah, there's a couple of other issues with that. So this agreement is, as it's written, calls for two positions within the fill. If I'm reading it again correctly, that would be 2 times the cost, not 1 time.
Correct.
That is correct.
So typically,
So it's not 30,000, it's 60,000.
so that came because of a board request. Typically,
If we do, I'm just saying, if we do it, it's gonna be 60, for both positions, it's gonna be 60.
Right.
Yeah, table. The second thing is, do we think it's better for the new general manager to hire his own operations manager? Or do we think it's better for us to do it if we find the right candidate? Because Dan has a candidate, a possibility for that position that's kind of open. And perhaps we can just lock in this guy and get a feel for him while we're waiting to decide on the Schumacher. Because if we like this guy, we should have let him go.
which position are you talking about? Operations? I agree with that.
I mean, he's got, I don't, the gentleman, he's got somebody for operations that he thinks could.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
I'm sorry. I think this whole, and I appreciate that it was requested. But this whole resolution is just too early. I mean, we need to get the description. I think we should bring in the gentleman that Dan is talking about. But are we going to hire, well, we're going to pay 2 operational managers until the end of the year?
You are one today, yes.
Well,
If we hire this guy, we would have.
well, that's $50,000.
Well, if I recall, we put in the budget for October, November, December to make both positions.
Right.
So that we got some overlap. some training period.
In essence, we're talking about two positions, though, so you only got one.
This is July, or
Correct.
almost August. So can we not bring in your candidate and talk to him and then,
Absolutely, this is here because the board requested us to do it.
yeah, and then we can just
We did.
table this and not vote on it, or?
If you want to defer, if you want to table it, that's certainly.
I think we still may end up with this, to your point. But first we gotta say no on Schumacher, and no on the Southern gentleman. And then we can say, all right, now we're gonna do the headhunter, but we got nobody else. Correct?
Correct, but also,
Doesn't the general manager hire the operations person?
Yes.
Typically, yes.
Typically, we're not involved normally.
Right.
This is
So that's where we need direction, because right now, the GM position has not been advertised since March, that was taken down. The operations has been posted, but we haven't done any interviews because the board would like involvement. So we're kind of tied up. The board needs to either relinquish the duty to hire the operations manager, so the general manager can do that, and we go out and do interviews and go through that process. Or we need to put back online the general manager and go down that route, so you guys can hire someone to go do the operations manager hire.
Do we have bids for the operations manager?
We have two potential
I have several candidates, yes. Haven't pursued any of them because I didn't think it made sense to pay some, pay two people for 5 months. I can do that at your pleasure. You tell us what you want me to do, I'll do it. But at this point in time, we're kind of asking for direction, I guess is the best way to say it. But I think we should go out today. If you're gonna go out today, you need to go out for my position, the general manager.
but that would be on the headhunt.
Correct.
That's,
Or you need to think about Schumann, one or the other, or both, that's up to you guys. I mean, we're kind of, one of you saying do this, one of you saying do that, and I'm sitting here going, wait a minute, guys, tell me what you want me to do.
well,
I get, as far as this operations manager, I have no problem with you talking to this individual who seems to be highly qualified for the job. I don't know why we want to burden it down by us being involved with that. He's a general.
He's an acting general manager. He's not the general manager.
but
It's unusual circumstances.
then why don't we just simplify?
Okay, we can talk to him, I guess, but I just.
I mean, that's just throughout.
Why can't we simplify things and, because of the time of the year it is, extend Dan's contract until June and start recruiting for a general manager and go ahead and fill the position of operational manager. By the time June gets here, we can put feelers out in end of April, the first of May, and then if we have to spend the money, put $60,000, $30,000, then we can. Why can't we do that?
You really don't necessarily need to be here until June if you've got somebody that you think is qualified. I mean,
I would, what I said there, when we talked yesterday, and this could be changed, go 90 days beyond when the general, new guys hire, so they have to train. Maybe we should change that to 60 days.
I got no problem with 90 days. I think with the amount of things that we have going on right now, I think it's imperative that we have that transition.
Well, I do too, because we have so many
But that
spots.
should be an agreement, 90 days after someone's hired, or 60 days, whatever number we decide on, instead of picking a month, because we don't know who we're getting.
I'm fine with month to month and I'll stay as long as it's appropriate. I don't care. That's the least of our worries at this point. We need to find the right candidate. We're going to find the right candidate that you're happy with. And what, I can certainly have Chris here to talk to the two of you about it.
Can we get Schumacher and these other two guys you got for ops interviewed by the second meeting of August?
Certainly.
And then come back with the RFP in the second meeting of August, we'll discuss it out. If those guys don't work, if they're no good, then we sign the RFP and we go.
I agree.
I don't have a problem with it. I still feel that the general manager's job is important enough. But even if Schumacher seemed to be the right one, still wanted to get them to go out and tell me see if there was other potential people out there. I can, if Shoemaker is that very good, maybe after I get done interviewing, maybe it'll change them. So,
Well, hard to talk,
I don't know.
and I can certainly have that done, yes. He said the only reason he hasn't is because Neil was out of town, we could not get it done. And I'll throw another date in the mix, my contract was 6 months and it expires the 17th of August, I think.
So we have to decide the contract today.
Yeah, we got it here.
Well, you'll have another meeting before that, so. you don't
The
have to-
13th, but we can do it today, at least I'll bring it up.
I mean, I don't care, I didn't ask for a contract to start off with, it don't matter to me. So if you want, if it works for month to month, that's fine with me, if you want 90 days, that's fine, I don't care, it's up to you guys. I want to do what's right for someone,
How long do you think it'll take to drag it? That's how long I want.
depends on who it is.
That's how much time I'd like for you to spend.
Some of these guys know more than I do, you know, so.
I mean, if the guy's ready to go.
That's what I'm saying. I don't need something that says, you've got to pay me for 6 months. I don't need that. I didn't want that to start off with. Don't particularly want it now, but just so you know, that's the way it's going. I can certainly have the interview set up. I will do so. Probably can do that before the first meeting in August. We can kind of play that one by ear. That's not an issue.
I need to back up a little bit because we were about to get an update from Ariel, because before we can really fill a position, we've got to have a job description. So I'm not sure where we are with that job description.
The last update that I got from Chelsea before she left for her HR conference this week is that she had no news from Cody and Associates, and that was as of Friday. So just this past Friday.
Maybe we need to try to find a way.
I can touch base. I have not talked to this lady, Chelsea's from dealing with her completely, but I can certainly find out what, we're supposed to have something back by the first of August, so we've got to come with it.
Regular student up, I was back.
That job description is specifically for the operations area. So it's not the general manager's position we're talking about. But I can do it. I would.
I think we should decide that who else will do, but I'm in favor of, I've been in favor of what everything is proposed when we start. So I think we need to decide what to do and get it done and let Dan go.
Okay, I'll put on the table, we interview both candidates. For both positions, Schumacher and whatever two candidates, one or two candidates do that. We're all talking about the second meeting of August. I'll come back here to discuss what's the feelings on this. If they pan out, great, we go forward. If they don't pan out, we issue the RFP for the headhunters to go there.
Just to be clear, one candidate for that I think may be qualified to be general manager, and the other one is operations.
Right.
So you want to talk to the operations guy as well? So no, I don't know how much of your time is.
I personally think you guys will get this work.
I do.
You want to?
Who's the other one?
There's only one candidate you've already talked to for general manager. The other is operations.
All right, so if I'm hearing everything correctly, it sounds like, so putting it in the form of a motion, we're basically moving to table this resolution until the second meeting in August. And in between, we're going to, the supervisors the supervisors that haven't already talked to the operational manager candidates will do so, and also talk to the potential general manager candidate between now and the second meeting in August.
My understanding is that the general manager candidate and the operations manager are the same person. For both.
Oh, okay.
No,
There are two candidates for operations. One of them is also a candidate for general manager.
Gotcha, okay, so 2 candidates total, and both of those candidates will be interviewed between now and the second meeting of August. And so the motion on the table, if one of the supervisors is making it, is to table this resolution until the second meeting of August. So if someone wants to make that.
Second.
Any other discussion? Anything from the public comment? Okay,
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Hoteling,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips, Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
yes. Hey, I also wanna, I think we should talk about, Dan signed an agreement. Must have been almost 6 months ago, and the last, I'll read you this last sentence. After the passing of 6 months term, this agreement shall terminate, and if the board desires to extend the term, a new agreement shall be negotiated. So I think we need to talk about it a little. We got till the 13th, we can decide, or we can decide now what we want to offer Dan to get him through, or to get us through. But I think it should be brought up.
I like the thing that Ray brought up, the contract will expire 90 days after the date of the hire.
Whatever, that's okay with me. I mean, or you give me a date specific, or you can leave it open, and I'll do it once a month. I don't care. It's just, I want to be sure that Mike knew that this thing expires. And I want to be sure we didn't get ourselves crossways with all the rules.
David, if we pass this, do we need a new contract, or? is we
No,
just-
basically what we're looking for is direction, and that's what I'll do, since this contract is scheduled to expire, I'll just draft a new one, and we'll bring that in for the August 13th meeting. And that's what it'll be, is the Dan's contract for interim general manager will expire 90 days after the hiring of a new general manager.
Okay,
Just an amendment.
Yeah.
okay, and we have a motion and a second, I'm assuming Mr. Brooks seconded on his way up, so. Do we need a vote, Chris?
No, well, I'm just looking for direction, because what I'll do is I'll bring that amendment
The
for
13th?
approval of the 13th.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So I assume that was the negotiation with that Dan.
Didn't very much I want to get paid yet.
Okay, the next item is item C, a discussion on the irrigation projects on Turtle and Deer Run golf courses. Who is doing that?
Irrigation.
I just wanted to update you guys that we are still moving forward, based on Indigo's, and I guess Jimmy's recommendation. We're going to try to do a single source for the equipment, which we're already, our equipment now is with Wesco, which is Toro. If you had to redo it all, you would have to redo the stuff we did on Deer already, or a lot of it. So we're going to ask them to design the property as I design the equipment as I understand it, and then we'll go out for an RFP for people to install it. Is that agree? Yeah.
Morning.
So basically, when you guys did the deer run, you guys took for us out.
Jimmy, will you introduce yourself to the
I'm sorry,
audience?
I'm Jimmy Murphy, I'm the director of Romney.
Thank you.
I haven't met you yet. Pleasure to meet you, sir. So going out with it right now, you guys have 4 satellites that you guys put in 2 years ago for the loops around here. So it didn't make any sense to change that to Rainbird and Floral about all the options we have. We used to go with Hunter as well. It's not apples to apples anymore. So since you already have the Toro in place, and Wesco has the exclusive Toro, that's basically who we went out with. And originally, we had a consultant fee in there that was $13,000, I believe, for the design. So I'd try to save that money, and went to Wesco Card and asked them if they would do the design. if, you know, we rewarded it to them and they would absorb that as well. And they'll also take it and get the free bids from subcontractors as well to, so they'll kind of do our bill for us. And then, of course, we bring the free bids and award it. It was a pleasure working with Landier on the IT project. They did a great job for us. So that's, there'll be two others, and they talked about all the verification. I'm more on that with all of them, you know, both of those as far as that. So that being said, the biggest deal right now is going to be the price of the pipe. The petroleum-based products are supposed to go up to 200% next year. So we're trying, we met with them last week, and he's gonna try to get that bid for us as quick as he can. And see what it is. I still believe that we can come in at that 1.7 million to do those projects. We met with Mike as well. Our goal is to try to keep 27 holes open all the time, so we can still have it play and not really shut 18 holes down. It's gonna take 4 to 5 months to complete the project. But our goal is to only shut 9 holes down at a time and work on that 9 holes and do 27 of them. By doing the HDPE pipe, it'll be less disturbance on anything less than 6 inches. Only some drop the trench in and do the 6-inch mainline pipe. The biggest bonus is, Bev, I know you worked with golf course before, you don't have all the joints that leak. The HDPE, you got straight runs, you really, the life of the system should last for 20 years. I know we'd like to think for $2 million, it would last longer than that. They really don't, they get more and more. But the only connections would be where the actual heads are. It's just a water tap like they do on, and it's a saddle that they basically go into that has a threaded service key, you put a key on it, swing the joint, and that's really holes in that pipe. You know, all the connections, so it's definitely a better system. It's probably the least expensive as well to do at this point. PVC is just off. Yeah. The maintenance will be a lot easier. So that's where we stand on that project right now. Is there any further questions?
I got,
Yes, sir.
it's not that I don't have faith in it. I don't think you can pull it off.
You know what?
I don't think you can pull it off. I don't think you can have 27 holes open like you're talking about. Playing 9 on one course, 9 on another course. I don't think you guys should do.
No, that will not be the process. That will not work here on our property. If the nines were starting closer together, we can do that process, which would be fabulous because it would be a great way to operate. So we won't be able to do that. So we'll have, say, turtle run open, and if we have the back 9 gear open, what we would do is operate it kind of like you would a split tee. So we would tee off for 2 hours, have 2 hours, we have tee off for 2 hours, and they would just kind of.
I don't want the summer to be really.
It would not be any different than any other summer.
You're gonna tell them to play 9 on one hole, course, and 9 on another.
Or they can play 18 holes on the other course like they would now.
I just don't see how you do. First of all, the 4 or 5 months ain't that good. Last we heard, at one of these meetings, where it was gonna be a summer project. And because it was gonna be a summer project. Then we said, well, can we do the green loops at the same time? And we said, yeah, we could probably pull that off. Now it's 4 or 5 months.
Well, I mean,
I'm just telling you what you're telling us. I get different stories.
I never told you that.
No, you're telling me 4 or 5 months.
Yes,
Your company told you all this.
I understand that this works, but I went here, come on, excuse or anything. I mean, I went out and talked to the contractors and got a time frame on it. I've built 4 golf courses, that's building, I mean, it's a process. There's right now, I can tell you that 4 or 5 months would be a great thing, but I mean, you can't even get anything for it or get any kind of time frame right now. I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with it as well. Contractors are, you know, they're hard to deal with, especially with the parts right. I mean, look at what's happening, you gotta understand everything else, it's just a different time.
I just have service down to you guys.
Well, right, we had on 27 holes, and we played that for 4 or 5 years, we played 27 holes. And we had a problem with it.
before the second nine for.
Yes, we play that all the time.
I don't know what 10 years ago has to do with today, but
Well, I'm just saying it can be done.
anything can be done, but I think you're gonna put a lot of problems with the membership.
What do you suggest?
I don't have any suggestions, I'm just telling.
Well,
I
basically,
don't think we're gonna do the green. I'd wait on that. He's done such a good job with those collars, you can probably see that crap anymore than what they were.
I'm open with it, but if you guys want to move to 2022, 3, whatever, I'm fine with it.
I mean, the turtle breeds are in pretty good shape all the time.
Yes, sir.
Right.
They're gonna get better.
but let me clarify that, with having the separate heads on the greens loop isn't totally just for the greens, it's for the green surrounds. So the object, right now, when we wanna water the greens, we're watering the surrounds. If we want to water the surrounds, we're still watering the greens. So this is giving us an option to water either or and conserve water and not overwater where we don't want to overwater. So the process, the greens loop is not to fix the collars. It's not for that purpose.
And we have a commitment. But that's not it.
Okay. I mean, nobody sees it as a problem besides me, so I'm good with it.
No, do we consistently shut the course down for the full 4 to 5 months in order to get that accomplished? Okay, let's just do here, just here. How long does it take to do what we have envisioned on the new irrigation system?
4 months is what we got told from my scope last week.
So in order to not, we don't want to close down the deer run for 4 months. We're going to close down the front line of deer, complete that project, then we'll open it. We'll then close the back line of deer, complete that project and open it. And then we'll move on and so on and so on. So that way, we're not closing the entire course down. We're actually going to be offering more play times by doing it this way than we do now, because currently we close 18 holes. Where now, next time we're only going to close 9. So we're actually providing more options for members and guests to play, not less. Does that make sense?
Okay, I just heard what you said, but how do we do the maintenance that you already planned for the summer? On the other course?
Sure, so when the front end of deer is closed, we will go ahead and we will aerify and do all that maintenance work on that 9 holes. And then when we switch, we will do it on the next 9 holes, so it'll be concurrent with the
Next
irrigation.
year, what happens to turtle during all that time?
Well,
It
it'll,
doesn't get any maintenance for next year.
no, because it's gonna have to close too, because it's gonna have to close for the greens loops, because we can't do the greens loops during play.
We will have closings on turtle, hopefully only be a week to airify, you know. I mean, honestly, if we can airify 2-3 times, it'll be good, but twice would be good.
Okay, but you're talking 4 months in order to get deer done.
Better be a week that you be closed on turtle for aerification.
Okay, where are we gonna go then?
Well, we will always have 18 holes available for play, depending on what we do. We'll work out the schedule.
It might be split. I know.
We might have 9 holes on deer, 9 holes on turtle.
Right, we could do, right, if we have both projects, one, we could close the front line of deer, do that 9, then we could close the front line of turtle and have deer completely open, and do that means. It'll all get done, we'll have to finalize the schedule when we get there, but it's all possible. To do our normal summer maintenance and complete these projects at the same time, we can get it all done, it's not.
And you base that on what? That it's all possible. But you just think it's.
You know, it has to be done. I mean, it's gonna be coordinated. I mean, is it gonna inconvenience the membership? There might be an opportunity that it will, but our goal is to try to have at least 18 holes of constantly. But I mean, we still have to do the local practices. I mean, we're not gonna stop any of that. When we do deer, it's gonna happen while those 9 holes are closed out. We're never gonna be trouble without water on 9 holes. We shouldn't have any loss of surface besides what we end up doing. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing is to try to, allow you guys to be able to break off. I mean, that was our whole concern with that last week, was to try to get you guys into the process, never penalize,
Right, obviously, this project needs to be completed, both of them, they're part of our commitment this room plan. Obviously, I think the timeline to complete it's
sooner than later as for the pricing of it. If we wait, I mean, the price could double. And obviously, we need to complete the project with the least intrusion to our play and revenues sources. So will it be different? Yes, but we're gonna do everything we can to make the experience as best as possible and still capture that revenue that we capture. It's gonna be different and it may inconvenience at some time, but I mean, that's just part of, we gotta get this project done.
If we didn't do Turtle the same year, what impact did that have on the price of Turtle?
It's an utilization fee that's gonna cost you a lot. And then the other thing is the pricing of the pipe.
Rough, yes.
I would say that it would be in the $5,000 to $7,000 range, this utilization. And I supposedly it's going to 200%. I strongly encourage everybody to really think about purchasing a pipe this year. I would, I mean, like I said, it's just a matter, and it may go down. You know, it's all petroleum-based products, so it may go down. You don't know, it's a shooting match. You don't know what's going to happen. It's affecting fertilizer, it's affecting chemicals, it's affecting everything. We have no control of it, at the mercy of the suppliers. But I would say it could be upwards of $100,000 to $200,000.
For every product.
Yes, sir. That's the whole reason why I didn't want to do the replace the sod on the collars, is because I just don't want to delay the project. Closing or anything else, I want to get that off first as quick as I need. And that'll probably, hopefully take 2 weeks to do the leaks and curb. Because we do HCP fight, they come in and they drag a bullet, it's only 2.5 inches. They drag a bullet in, and there's no trench and all of it, the surface place, and like I just come back to the bullet, pack it. So you're gonna have a small 6-inch slit there, it's gonna be up in pretty quick. And then the following year, we're gonna request that if you wanted to get rid of the funding, we're gonna cut it out, and we can do that, and I'll say that.
You envision 2 or 3 rows.
Well, we'll do the design, so basically it's a single road down the middle. They call it a hard line. You got 180 heads on the outside. It's basically irrigating interiorly. The hail will never get water. You're eliminating it. Which we have heads everywhere in the road right now, in the bay and everywhere. It's gonna be okay during the rain season, but it's gonna get dry in the summer. We have to do that this way. That's all part of our design. It's taking the irrigated curve and that's.
Do we need to take a consensus of what to do, or do you want to? I mean, I hear two that are kind of questionable, but if you want to take a consensus to either go on or discuss more, I mean, I don't care.
I think we have to move forward with this one.
That's the whole irrigation.
The other day I had a leak, I had to shut the pumps down because of my gas, isolation gas.
We're moving around here, so. Of course, the idea is.
And the cost effectiveness and both courses done at one time. And having both courses up and running them is, I don't think, what I can do it as of this point.
I agree with that, and I understand it's going to be. I have to involve this. There are times and inconvenience, but it's going to be good for all.
Well, I'll go along with doing it now, so. We can discuss it more, but it looks like 3 of us are wanting to do it now.
As soon as I get the numbers from Western Park, I'll do a summary and get all the challenges that we might have.
I think it'll help as you get, because the board could change their mind once you get cost in and just keep working on this solution. Yeah. Yeah,
It's a matter of whether you have all of it or just the difference.
I don't want to see an alternative next to it.
No, but I'd like to, once Wesco has a plan, I'd like to see the final numbers and the best case for minimizing.
Right, so after we get that, we'll also bring together a schedule for maintenance and how we're gonna pull off. So we'll bring out to you when we get that information.
Very good.
And if you could buy the pipe in the fourth quarter of this year, what would that cost be? If they could buy the pipe in the fourth quarter, which will be next fiscal year, so that we have the pipe before it goes up in January. That's so, yeah. So
They'll store it for us.
That's what folks can see.
It would just be fine.
I think they discussed that, but I think we can do that if.
Well, he said he could, but I'm saying,
I'll get all that cleared up for you in summary to you guys if I can.
Very good.
I might as well say it for the next question.
Okay,
could I, in between question
Yes, sir.
on the aqua teams? Did we save ourselves money if that building was less than 130,000 we gave you guys because of the way we did it?
It was 130,000 the way you go. If you guys would have saw the T-decks, it would have probably been another $50,000 to $75,000.
If we would have won,
Soldered the T-decks themselves instead of stringing them. The way they did it,
you gotta be kidding me, that 130,000 supposedly included sod.
yeah, they did sod. They sodded the surroundings to prevent the erosion. And then you always scrape the top of it just because it comes in true. If you sod, you'll see when we cut A out, it's not gonna be, we're trying to keep the top rust right now and smooth it out, but you always scrape T-decks and you always do your sod on the
So
side.
we knew from the beginning, you would spring the top of the two boxes.
I've always done that. Everybody's always.
I know, but we were sold that, exactly what we were told was gonna happen, because I don't think it was.
I'm just unsure of what the issue is with the difference of signing and screening. You're gonna have the same turf, it's gonna be done at the same time. I don't see it being an issue whether we would have sodded it or spread it.
Because it's
Obviously,
not what we thought we were doing. That's the only thing I'm worried about.
I'm gonna look into it. I had that question when I walked in. I'll look into it. I mean, the scope of work to me said it was sod cut into sprigs to plant.
Because we did put sod on one of the tee boxes.
Just number 8 because it was so high and originally, and listen, I didn't have anything to do with the staking of those. Those were all done prior to me getting here, and those were all done by what the ladies wanted out there. And like Mike and I have had this discussion. I mean, if it makes them happy to play the game from there, then we'll do it that way. But the sprigging is a lot less expensive than the sod. You could have been hard pressed to do that much acreage for that number that they did, especially bringing in all the dirt and everything. A was just that they were planning on doing coquina all the way around number 8 on deer instead of doing the sod. I actually put dirt on it. I'm going to bring some cocaine in near the cart path because we know we'll get bored there, but we're gonna cut sod out of the areas that we're gonna move some of the cocaine past and put it back. But the sprigs, I mean, they're growing pretty good right now, and it's
That really isn't the point.
Okay.
I was under the impression we were getting sod on the tee boxes.
you got sod on all sides.
130,000.
Yeah,
My understanding was that we had a budget put together, that we got the bids, we had to make adjustments to the project to be able to make the bids. I couldn't tell you what all the adjustments we made were, but they were adjustments that Indigo confirmed that we would be happy with and the women would be happy with. So I don't have a problem with the side versus spring. So I'm good, it's all gonna work out in the Is your concern that delays our access to the queue?
My concern is that I voted for something and I didn't get it. And I thought the board voted for something and the board didn't get it. But the board says, that's okay. That's fine.
so they, Mr. Ricks, they did sod all the surrounds of the cues and they scraped the T-decks. So there was only X amount in the bid for that amount of sod that was put on the cues.
So I paid for dirt and sod around the fields for 130,000.
You did.
again, I don't see the issue with the sprigging and sodding. The sprigs, you're gonna have the same quality turf, the same grass. and it's gonna be completed in the amount of time the project is, I mean,
That's
it's,
fine.
it's common practice to spread T-tops, I don't see what the issue is.
Thank you.
Okay, item number D, discussion from golf equipment acquisitions. I guess that's you too.
Yeah. What is the point of the conversation on that? Where are we at? What do we need to discuss? Do we need to discuss the financing side of it? Or-
Yes,
Okay,
that was the point.
okay.
Did we not do this last week?
Yes, we did.
So why are we doing it again?
Is this for the new piece of equipment?
That is correct. There were 3 pieces of equipment. We just want to report to you that that's what we're doing. And I'm not sure if we decided whether to lease that or to actually purchase it from whichever way.
So we need to, what needs to happen is we need to bring that back for board approval. It needs to come back for you guys to decide whether to go ahead and execute the lease or just buy it outright. So it should be a resolution rather than a discussion item. Because you guys agreed to it last meeting.
So which way do you want us to do it? You want us to do it as buying it, so you want us to do it as leasing it?
What's the recommendation?
The recommendation, so part of the budget conversation, we made a change was that Indigo Golf would absorb the lease costs from their operations and keep the net income the same. So they're gonna adjust their budget to account for this extra cost, and it wouldn't impact the district any further.
We've already adjusted the budget.
Correct, which is part
It's
of
already
the,
done.
correct, we just need to acquire the lease, is all we need to do at this point.
We need approval to sign the lease if that's what you want us to do. That's correct.
David, do we need a resolution for us to go ahead and do that?
Has the lease already been presented?
No.
Okay, then yeah, we need a resolution, so bring it on resolution and text.
We'll bring that back.
Yes, bring it back to 13th.
That's the way it
Get it done.
We have the option to buy it. That's up to you guys. Whichever way you want.
Well, the financial side of that,
Yeah.
I guess,
He just wants the equipment.
Yeah.
I don't care how we finance
the
it.
financial side of
I
that.
guess one question I have is whether or not with our all going out of business, is there a possibility to buy the equipment from them?
They don't have a material. The material handler is, okay, so I've been birdie cutting and pot roasting a lot, right? So everybody, we went through this last meeting, we've made 152 trips of pot roasting so far. So they don't have a material handler, I already checked, I tried to find used equipment because it would be quicker. Basically, the first thing I got told from Everglades and the Toro was that it'd be 12 to 15 weeks for delivery. But I looked at all the used brokers and tried to find it that way first, just for availability, because we need it. So Everglades went out, they've got a tractor on hand, they got a Joe on hand, and the trailer on hand. But they also got people that want to buy it at this point. So, because they've got people been waiting, but they actually bought it out of state place right now. So we just, hopefully we can at least let them know that we got to wait for the very case work.
And I guess my follow-up question to the contract would be, what percentage are we looking at on the lease? If you're leasing, there's a percentage that you're paying over the cost. Would it not make more sense in this case, because this is long-term use equipment, to just buy it out?
It's gonna be something that we're gonna keep forever. It'll be on the property for 20 years. I mean, it's essential.
Yeah, I think buying it makes more sense than leasing.
What do you recommend?
It'll be dual use.
So the only, once again, there is an 8,000, it comes out to be $8,000 cost of interest. The negative impact to that is you're gonna see $100,000 loss in golf funds. So if you're okay seeing an extra $100,000 and accounting for that for Indigo saying, why'd you lose an extra 100 this year? You gotta go back and remember that you allowed them to buy this outright to save $8,000 versus doing a lease and they can allocate this monthly budget and absorb it from their operating income and their net income stays the same. So
Maybe not, maybe later.
correct. It's gonna be a one-time deal now. So instead of $450,000 loss, it's gonna be $5,000.
It's not like business financials where you buy $100,000, it doesn't even show up to show the depreciation. This shows $100,000 today. I mean, we don't care. Obviously, it's cheaper for us to buy it. But if you want Indigo's numbers to show
It's just false numbers.
Yeah, I think we're just asking, and just.
It does make sense, you guys are okay with
Fine. Yeah, I think we buy it out.
it. Okay, we can do that. We can do that. That's the reason it's on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll bring back a resolution with a budget amendment for that $100,000 and just go ahead and buy it out.
Are we gonna lose the equipment? Do we have to wait till this week?
I'll try to massage that today.
Okay,
Thank you all very much.
thanks, Jim. Okay, item E is discussion of the 2021 road project timeline.
Yeah, I got it. We appropriated $350,000 for roads, we won 16 roads. The bid come in at $330,000 and we're ready to go. I guess we have to get your approval to start the work. And you have a list in front of you, of other roads we'll be doing it,
I thought.
All right, he hasn't gotten a quote back from the contractor. So,
I mean, based on who's going to add on, Mike, you left off the original proposal of Meter Street with Cortez and Calatrava, which was, I'm not quite sure how you read this. Anyway, that has to be added on. I can do it. By mistake.
We can bring that one back at the next meeting, that's not an issue. There'll be other stuff during the year, we wind up having to fix. But yeah, we can put this one and bring it back.
So we're gonna add that on, I assume, because it's within the budget.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the other question, is this gonna get done this fiscal year?
Yeah.
Why are we so late with this?
Well, you gotta remember, back last year, we stopped all the projects till after January, then we had to, we had to go back to all the contractors and they had to start over. Pricing change and everything else. So.
This is July.
I know what it is. I know, no, but this is, you gotta understand, everything takes time, but this is exactly. The contractor said, yes, we would be done by the end of the year. And I hope to God we are.
And the fiscal year?
Yeah.
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year, yes. So thank you for that.
I recall we got bids this year on unit, as opposed to specific projects, we got bids on specific duties, if you will. And this is using those numbers. We won't have to go back for bid anymore, so we can then, at least not in a couple of weeks. We can then use those numbers next year in this age.
Okay, the next item is discussion of Magnolia Place letter of no objection.
All right, I'll handle this one. We got a letter from Clifford Rose, who represents us, the Magnolia Place community. Essentially, what they are wanting to do is privatize the rest of the roads within their gated area. And they're basically just want to confirm that the district has no objection to that. The main road that goes into Magnolia Place has already been privatized. I think there's 2 other roads that are still technically public. They're going to be seeking, they have to go to the county, privatize those roads. They just want to make sure the district's not going to have any objections. In my opinion, I don't know why we would have an objection if they're going to take over maintaining roads that the district would otherwise have to maintain. So the board has no objection. We have that I can communicate to Mr. Rose that there's no objection by the board. They can move forward. I think the only real issue, and I've had a discussion with Mr. Rhodes, is what happens if, someplace down the line, Magnolia Place folds as a HOA, who then takes over the roads. We just want to make sure that there's a provision that if for any reason the future Magnolia Place ceases to exist as a homeowners association, that the roads will revert back to the district. So.
One request that they made was there was some cracking on the connection between, I think it's Cecilia or Celia, I can't remember, the side where it goes into Cortez. They asked us to fix that concrete. That's minimal, and we told them we would do that. So it's up to speed before they take it.
Okay, is there any objections or any other comments?
One question, just to clarify that They are taking over all of this, but there is no change in the assessments that they property owners pay from signs.
Correct, correct.
Do we still provide security services, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, we just don't do the roads and drainage.
No roads or drainage.
Correct, yeah, I think all the drainage there is under ground drainage, that's already maintained by the HOA.
And what happens if they defer the maintenance for 20 years and then say, it's your problem?
That's a good question. We can look into it, but I would imagine part of the HOA's assessments that they are involved maintaining the drainage, so we could tell, we could do a spec, if it came to that, I would say our action would be to have a special assessment to bring it up to, you know, if they neglect it for 20 years and we have to spend money, we would do a special assessment.
No objection.
Okay. Now you're take care of that, Dave, right? Okay. Okay, discussion of the interlocal agreement, 1986.
Okay, so this is back to the, I guess, the gas tax issue. The resolution here talks, it shows basically what was agreed to, the original 86 agreement and then the 2017 resolution where we basically accepted it. We've had this discussion multiple times about the gas tax issue, but there's never been an official vote, and so it keeps kind of rearing its head as to whether or not we're going to seek any gas tax money from the county. I did a memorandum a while back, basically says that there's a potential there for us to request money from the county. So I guess what's before the board, the question I have for the board is this something that we want to continue to pursue? If so, we need a vote in favor of something, and if not, we need to vote against it. The avenue that I would see, or the next step that I would see, would be a request for an attorney general opinion as to whether or not the district may be entitled to any of the county gas tax money based on, because the county has assigned maintenance of the roads to the district. And so based on the way the law is written, I think there's a position there that the district can say, since we have been assigned to maintain the roads and drainage in the district, we may be entitled to some of that gas tax money. Obviously, having an attorney general opinion in favor would be highly beneficial when we were to go to the county to ask for money. So the question to the board today is, do you want me to draft a letter to the attorney general requesting an opinion, or do we want to say we've discussed this enough and take a vote saying not to pursue it any further?
Can we talk about the agreement?
Sure.
So, I read this way. Either the county or both the county and the district have the option to cancel this agreement.
Correct, as it's currently drafted, yes.
As far as it was drafted. So have we talked to the county or said, hey, why did we decide to do this? What are the implications from your standpoint? How do you feel?
If we were to cancel this agreement?
Yeah.
Well, the biggest issue would be is we currently collect assessments based on maintaining the roads and drainage within the district.
Right.
And so if we were to cancel this agreement and tell the county we're not going to maintain the roads and drainage anymore, we would immediately have to do a reassessment study to remove that from the assessments that we charge our residents.
Right, but we also spend $500,000 and $600,000 a year in roads and drainage.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that we should do that. All I'm saying is that we talked to the county and said, what if? What if?
Well, reverting back to the discussion we just had on Magnolia Place, I would think one of the first things the county might say is, oh, okay, go ahead. My point is, we've deferred maintenance on a lot of that, and they're probably coming back to us if we say, okay, county is yours. They're gonna put a special assessment on us to bring up the deferred maintenance.
Are you working for the county?
No, I'm telling you,
Well, that would be mine, that was gonna be the next thing I was going to discuss, is that's what would most likely happen.
We just discussed that about Magnolia, so why would it be different for us?
Okay,
Go ahead, Scott.
yeah, I mean, we can certainly open this up in a discussion between your legal staff, our legal staff, administration. Get an opinion if y'all choose to go that route. That's certainly, you know, I've heard chatter of this discussion since I've come into office, but that pretty much is it. So this is for people that within the legal department and administration to sit down, talk this over, keeping in mind, of course, I represent the county, you represent the district, I'm your liaison, okay? My thought process, I'm one of 5 commissioners of your board here. You know, as a county, let's just say that it was good when we started, we agreed with this. We worked and those gas tax dollars now went to you folks. That's a loss of revenue for the county that the county would have to make up. One way, shape, or form, your county taxpayers also. Okay, we're within budget times right now, I'm sure maybe you folks are also. So, I think really we would just have to dig into it to see what the ramifications would be on changing this over. I'm sure that there's some positive and negatives on each side. And certainly I think what your staff is asking for direction from the board on how you want to proceed forward with this. Do you want to open discussions? Do you want to go down this path and see what the pros and cons on each side of this would be? Because with the understanding, pros and cons are going to affect the same bucket of people because people are paying county taxes here and they're paying improvement district taxes here. The roads have to be maintained by either entity that I have those expenses or what have you. So I don't have an opinion for or against this. The only opinion that I would have is that if your board of supervisors instructs your staff to start exploring this, then I will make sure that we connect the proper people in doing this, so we can all come back with educated answers on what the pros and cons would be of making a change to the agreement. Of course, the agreement is one for my time, and I'm sure for many of y'all's time in this capacity. So certainly be willing to do whatever I'm your representative. I represent you as board in the district also. So I don't want to say that I'm against the district doing this, doing this. We just would have to look at what ramifications would come from this if a change is made. Okay, because believe me, I believe there'll be pros and cons on the side of this. Okay, but certainly whatever direction your board decides, I will support the investigation of that and make sure that we would have some comprehensive report and bring back and bring administration or bring our legal counsel to a meeting to address all the questions that the supervisor have or the residents have here.
Are these two like piggyback or the gas tax to be separate from the agreement? I read the agreement, I didn't say anything about the gas tax.
Yeah, I haven't read the agreement, so.
So the gas tax is not addressed in there. It's basically just, if we have.
This tax is over here, and the agreement's over here.
Correct. The memorandum that I did when I did the research about the gas tax is that based on the way the law is written, in my opinion, the memorandum I drafted was that we have a legal basis for requesting gas tax money because the maintenance of the roads within the district has been assigned by the county to the district. And when that assignment occurs, anytime that the county says, we are not going to take care of the roads and drainage, we are going to assign that to a separate entity. That entity has a basis for requesting gas tax money. That's just my opinion.
So what you're saying is if we gave them back the roads and the drainage, we might not be eligible for the gas tax.
We definitely won't be available for gas tax, correct. So the two, or the big question that we don't, the answer that we don't know yet is how much money are we talking about? Because the county maintains, I don't know how many miles of roads, but what do we have within the district?
Depends on whether you're talking paved or unpaved. Paved about 80 exclusive of Sun Lake Boulevard. And then there's another, how many, Mike?
Yeah, the thing would be to do is, I'm sure, determine
Of how many miles.
The amount of tons we're talking about, how that figure is come about. Okay, because how do you figure the county collects X amount of, and it depends on gas purchases. Of course, when the COVID was down, those purchases, those revenues were down. As the economy recovers, those revenues will rebound, but they have that rebounding. So, you know, I think the big thing now would be direction on which way you want to go, and then the investigative process to figure out, okay, what's the pros and cons, and how much money we're actually talking. You know, because all of a sudden, if we start diverting gas tax dollars, and you're assessing to maintain those roads, there may be a change in that assessment, because of course you have revenues coming in or offsetting the assessment. So, you know, it gets much deeper than that, but I think the first step would be the direction of this board, on whether they want to pursue investigating this and putting people together from the county and from your staff to start this discussion, and then come back with a comprehensive report on how much money we're talking, pros and cons of the agreement, what have you, and then make a decision based on that report. So that'd be one thing.
It also depends on how you calculate the share. If you're looking at roads to roads, we have a lot of roads in the back that actually don't exist, but they're platted. You also have question, okay, how many gas stations are within the district, which is one. So the gallonage there versus the gallonage overall. I mean, it's just, it gets bigger and bigger than what you talked about.
Bottom line is, it's all a negotiation. I think the county is a reasonable group. I don't know that we need a state attorney general letter before we go to county. I think it's worth discussing. I don't think we necessarily would be looking at reducing our assessment if we got some of that gas money, because I think what we have found in the last several months is that we've got some deferred maintenance we need to address, and we've got to figure out how to pay for it. And if we can get some gas tax money to help pay for that, it's going to mean less assessment for our residents here. It may mean more assessment from the county, but we can spread that over a lot more people than here. And it's a reasonable position, since the gas tax is supposed to pay for roads, and we have roads in the county as well. That gas tax. So I think we need to set up the discussion between the county and the district. And I'm guessing that probably we need to appoint somebody from the board to meet with somebody from the county, probably that, along with the attorneys and any other staff that we need to involve to get those discussions going. I would say getting those discussions going sooner rather than later, and not delaying it to get a letter from the state, which is going to tell us what we already know. But yeah, there's probably the potential there, but it's going to be a negotiation between the county and the district to make anything happen.
I mean, to me, I would, if you folks should start the conversation, see where it goes. If our legal department comes back and says, listen, it's our opinion where we feel the agreement's at, that we don't have an obligation to provide the gas tax revenue to the district, then they may decide, okay, we're going to get an opinion from the state attorney on this, and then proceed from there. But I think that would maybe be a little bit premature, like you said. If the board here chooses to start the conversation, we will start the conversation. And this will probably take some time, okay? It's a pretty complicated issue, but we can start the conversation. I can align your staff, your legal counsel, with our staff, our legal counsel, that people get paid to do these things and know the intricacies of what we're talking about, and come back with a presentation to this board on what the findings were there. And then, sure or not, you know, we may look at it and say the pros and cons, which, well, we didn't know about this, and it's now this. Okay, that's what my job is. That's what your staff is, to investigate all that and report back to you. That's how I would suggest that this board wants to pursue this. Let's start the conversation. Set up a meeting. Or some topics that we feel will surface, or back. Every direction.
I think it's very possible that when we have those discussions, that the county attorney may agree with my memorandum. I don't know. So I don't have any issue with what Mr. Carrack just said moving forward. And then if, like I say, if we come to an impasse and we need additional, if the county attorney's opinion differs from mine and we need some additional ammunition, then maybe we seek an attorney opinion. But I don't think it's imperative that that be the start of the process.
Excuse me. Yeah, we can on this one if you want. When we get there, we're not there yet, Dave. Just, I'll call you in a minute, okay?
Yeah, so that's what I mean, that's what I'm looking for is just the direction of how we want to proceed. And so we can take a vote so that one way or another this issue is resolved. So it doesn't have to keep coming back because it was never officially voted.
Okay, is there any other comment?
We're talking gas tax.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
At this point.
It's a whole.
It's,
It starts with.
Correct.
okay, David.
You did a good job on this, David. Matter of fact, I didn't even know it was done until I uncovered it here a while back. But that was in October, and I would have thought something would have happened between now and then, and now we're sitting there talking about maybe doing something about this, this agreement with the county. We should have never did the interlocal agreement, because when the Enabling Act in 1971, the county basically took over the roads and the drainage based upon our original plan. Then we decided, the board decided in 1986, which was the worst decision we probably ever made, to take over our roads. The drainage, excuse me, David. Was there any, at any time did the district take over the drainage like they did the roads from the county? Do you know of anything that was ever done?
But I mean, if you're, in my opinion, based on what we've seen, is that the roads and road maintenance includes drainage.
No, it doesn't. No. And also in your brief, when you say anything exercised and performed by the Board of County Commissioners or exercised and performed by some other separate board, that's us.
That's correct.
We should be getting paid for it. I don't care if it's roads, I don't care if it's drainage. We're sitting here beating this thing up back and forth and we're never getting anywhere. I hope this time we do. But I think the county collects $7 to $9 million, something like that, in gas tax every year, and it's subsidized with our pay for the roads and bridges. A hell of a lot of that gas tax money is paid for by the residents of the district. I mean, for years, for 40 years, and we've got nothing. What do we get from the county for the $5 million we pay individually in this district? What do we get from the county? The money, the ad valorem taxes we pay the county, other than school. Still, I can understand. What else do we get?
Travel road stuff. County roads every day. This development.
Okay, but we.
We get the same county benefits. You have additional.
You guys laugh all the way to the bank every time we pay taxes. I guarantee you.
Certainly, I
Let's get it done this time.
I agree with you.
This thing's been beat around enough.
I think we should address this issue on this board. And we've done what, you know. Get it out, see what happens.
I mean, I'm gonna get off point here a little bit, but I remember having a discussion, when we first got on an email with you, that, we did a sidewalk job on Fountain Hill, and everything was in agreement, we were gonna get half that money back, but since our sidewalks were only 4 foot wide, the county decided they didn't want to give us any money. And then I sent you an email, I said, well, hell, the sidewalks down, miles of sidewalks down Underwood Road are the same width. And the county put them in. So now, I never responded to that, but that's what we get. You guys ain't got anything in the world to keep from giving us without compromise. I mean, we spend hundreds of millions of dollars ad valorem taxes, and we're doing basically everything ourselves.
Okay, guys, I've gone in this, but thank you, Dave, for your input. Okay, thank you.
I might ask for 2 more minutes.
I'll give you 2 already, actually. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, so I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion so we can take an official vote, but
I think we started a parade here, just a minute. Go ahead.
Morning, Bill Northwest, resident. What's that? I'm a one-man parade, I guess, huh? All right, this gas tax issue was brought up several months ago. Newspaper article, that sort of thing like that. And of course, as being a taxpayer here, that basically I pay $2,300 to the county, $700 to the district. If it was reversed, we wouldn't have any problem. I mean, if the district is getting $2,300, I think there would be no discussion on this. But it just seemed to me that this gas tax should be considered revenue sharing. And I don't understand why something was written 35 years ago is still valid, because times change. And I just don't quite get it, so I understand the gas tax thing is kind of like a third rail. We have to be careful, because we start kicking over some stones and it may not work out very well. So I just hope that some serious consideration could be done on this, because I think whatever money can be kicked back to us, I think would be a benefit. To try to keep our tax rates down and keep complete all the projects that we want to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, go ahead now.
so yeah, but basically, I think if we take a vote today on how to move forward, maybe we can put this issue to rest. So that's where if someone makes a motion for us to reach out to the county attorney and set up a meeting. I don't care who or if anybody or to say we're tired of talking about it and we're gonna direct no further action.
I'd like to know what the rest of the board members think of it.
I think we need to start discussion. I think that probably the attorney, the general manager, and representatives from the board should start discussions with whomever the county thinks they should have for open discussion. So we should appoint a representative to the board and start the discussion. Nothing is lost by opening discussions. We may make some progress, we may hit a brick wall. We won't know until we start.
That sounds like a motion to me. Does anyone want a second?
I'd like to know what the board.
Oh,
He was asking for opinion.
Okay.
I was giving my.
Yeah, I've heard 2 opinions, that's all I've heard.
I'm of the opinion it needs to be put to bed. I'm not sure whether it's a good agreement, a bad agreement. So I think sit down and discuss the whole thing, is the appropriate thing to do. Because I really don't have a feeling as to whether and dollar value there for make this an issue. I'm not real sure about it.
I would like to stay as we are. I don't think that this is, I don't see why we open up this can of worms and potentially put every one of our residents at a $4,000 or $5,000 assessment to bring everything back up to code. I just think that we need to stay independent and stay a separate district inside of Powell's County. So I don't think, I'm not for opening up a can of worms.
And
That's just my opinion.
just to clarify, I agree with that statement. I'm not sure if you're saying that we shouldn't even look at potential for getting the gas tax as part of what we're doing. Because I certainly have no interest in reverting back to the county to eliminate our special district, but I would like to get a portion of the gas.
Okay, I agree almost totally with Beverly, but I can see a sense of that we should maybe at least start to talk, but my tolerance won't be very long. As far as how deep we get in, because I don't think we would survive this with the county. It's like, I can see a lot of problems if we try to force this, even if it's legal. I don't think there's a thing wrong with checking it, but I don't want this to last too long, and I think I can make sure you get a meeting and I'll appoint Neil to be on that committee with you and Dan. But I would say, let's get this done quick and give us some figures and stuff so we don't have to. Because it looks like a lose-lose thing for the district to be, but I don't know. So I think it's probably worth at least a touch base. But I'm not gonna have much of a tolerance to keep this going and going with lawyers' fees and so on and so forth. But let's try it.
Yeah, I mean, the discussion has two possible outcomes. Either the county attorney agrees with my memorandum or disagrees. And if they disagree, we bring that to the board and say, do we want to go for an attorney general opinion or do we want to let it lie? If the county attorney agrees with my position, then all we're doing is talking numbers.
If we proceed with conversations, I want to proceed with also the conversation of breaking this agreement.
Oh, that'd be part of it, absolutely.
I mean, everybody keeps going to the gas tax. The agreement is theoretically more money involved in that than there is in the gas tax.
Well, I think that would be the discussion, is number one, does the county attorney believe that the district is entitled to any gas tax money based on the assignment of the responsibility to the district? And two, what would be the consequences if the district were to decide to cancel this agreement?
I would put it the other way around. You told us if the agreement is canceled, then the gas tax out will go away.
Correct, yeah. I mean, if we're no longer maintaining our roads, we don't have any authority to request gas tax money.
So why are we going after gas tax money when we want to remain independent?
Because you probably not read my memorandum, and I apologize, I'll make sure I get you a copy of that. But the law states that if the county assigns the responsibility of maintaining roads to another entity, that entity is entitled to gas tax money. That's what has happened. The county, that's my legal opinion, is that the county has assigned maintenance of the roads and drainage within the district to the district. And based on that assignment, we are entitled to gas tax money.
So I agree with Ray then. It's not a matter of us canceling. We're going to stay the way we are, and we want our gas tax money.
Correct. That's what we're basically seeking. That's the discussion we're having.
And it would be if they're unwilling to even discuss giving us a portion of the gas tax, and what I'm hearing from Ray is trying to find out what the ramifications are.
Yeah, because that's where it'd be, the ramifications, something like this. So I guess we're all in agreement.
I'll say we're gonna put it in the form of the motion, not to put words in anyone's mouth, but if the motion is to have me, Dan, and Supervisor Hoteling meet with the county to discuss this agreement and the potential for gas tax money. That would be if I'm hearing it right correctly, that's the motion that we need to take a vote on, because the issue in the past has been, everything's been done by consensus, we don't have an official vote. Once we have an official vote, then that can't be changed unless one of the a member of the losing side brings it up for, the winning side brings it up for reconsideration.
So what do you guys think about that? Yeah,
I so move.
okay,
I second.
Okay. We have a public, any further public comment?
do we ask for a vote?
Yeah.
Proceed.
Supervisor Hoteling,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yeah.
Supervisor Harrit,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay, discussion unit 12.
That should be me again. Hold on, let me finish.
And for our audience, this is the last discussion. So, sorry.
Okay, so the district has received 2 offers on the Unit 12 land. One is a multi-pronged approach from Mr. Hornick that involves buying a portion now, buying a portion later, and having an option agreement. The other is a flat-out purchase agreement from a third party. I'm not sure the name, but basically it includes a 6-month feasibility study this is from Shaylon Developers LLC for $745,000 for all of the district's own property in Unit 12. That taxes would have to come out of that. Mr. Hornick's, I think you're familiar with some of Mr. Hornick's previous offers, which include that he would have absorbed the taxes based on his number. This number includes taxes. There's a $20,000 deposit, all of which will be returned if for any reason they find the property unsuitable. So.
Can we pay the taxes out of that? Right? Back to the county?
Correct, yeah,
Okay,
$745. So,
that's $500,000. Basically.
yeah, probably a little bit more, but essentially $500,000. So, 6-month feasibility study is, that's a long time to keep it off the market. And, if they, for whatever reason, they find it's not feasible, they get all their money back. So basically we get nothing for keeping it off the market for up to 6 months. So I wouldn't recommend either, of the agreements in their current form, but the question is who do you want the district to go into negotiations with? Do you want to negotiate with Mr. Hornick or to negotiate potentially with this Chi-Town about a full purchase?
My preference would be to negotiate with a new party. And my look at the Hornick agreements, our net is going to be small. And if we go into that agreement anywhere close to what he's doing, we're literally tying up the project for years because we're talking about doing it piecemeal. And if we at least have a chance to look at this new group, and I'd like to do some research on them and find out what the projects they work at. I think the ideal solution is to have somebody buy the entire unit, do the mitigation as part of that. And that's where we would have to get into negotiations with them. I mean, the current proposal I don't think is good, but their interest level, if we can come to terms on something that would allow them to develop a plan that includes the mitigation and space for the sinks and furnaces and anything else that needs to be mitigated, that would be a negotiation. I prefer to negotiate with the whole thing. So
It's just for 218, it's not the whole thing, right?
Yeah, 180 something, whatever it is that we own in Unit 12, whatever we foreclosed on, the property that we own in that Unit 12 would be all. That's my understanding.
Any other comment?
I don't want to put it off the market for that length of time without doing, I mean, we don't know this other company, we don't have any research on his background, and they are based in California. Is that correct?
I think the address is on.
Okay. I mean, I'm just saying, I wouldn't accept it alone. But if you want to go into negotiations, I would certainly, No, him who does have a history here with some like. Or. That's what I would do. I mean, I just don't. What do we know about the other company?
Well, the main thing, true, we don't know anything about the other company. And I wouldn't recommend that we sign this document as presented, so the question would be is what type of counter offer will we go back with? And I can foresee we would say, okay, we want, if we're gonna keep this off the market for, for 6 months, we wanna keep, for every month it's off the market, we wanna be able to keep something if you decide not to buy it. That would be a potential counter offer, and how are we gonna deal with assessments? Because if it's off the market for 6 months, we're still not able to collect any assessments. And so those are all things that we need to consider. The big question is do we want to negotiate with someone that's going to buy it, or that's proposing to buy all of it, versus someone that's going to do it piece by piece?
And sorry, I do not understand. Are they gonna pay the back taxes out
No,
of
ma'am.
$750,000?
No, ma'am.
So we're gonna lose $500,000 on that.
Correct.
Plus $20,000 for the selling it for the maybe $200,000. As opposed to.
They would actually, according to this, they don't refer to future taxes in it. I would note that Mr. Hornick had a similar 6-month study period, in which case he came back and said, I don't think I can pay $500,000 because of X, Y, and Z. We've been discussing this with him since before I got here. The more you get into it, the more litigation there is. There's tortoises and all sorts of stuff. And I don't know whether these people know that or not, or what they might or might not do in a negotiation. I don't know anything about it.
Which brings me back to why I would prefer negotiating with a new party, because we've been negotiating with Mr. Horner, and we haven't got an agreement that's gonna get us anywhere close to $200,000 net. And it ties up our project, ties up the development of that whole area for piecemeal. So if we negotiate with the new party, we at least have something to go on. And part of that negotiation may be, we don't take it off the market. We won't make a commitment to anybody else for 6 months, but we can continue trying to look at other offers. The client may come back with another offer, it's more competitive. But we've got a new party, which is the first time we've had 2 parties interested in, and the more you can leverage the 2 parties, the better deal you can negotiate.
Under Mr. Hornick's agreement, assuming we were able to eliminate some things that probably don't work for us, he would acquire a portion of it within 45 days, if I'm not mistaken. So we actually would have him acquiring the property and beginning development probably well before the other party. I'm not arguing either way. I'm just trying to make sure you guys understand.
Yeah, but our net on that would not be 2,000 less.
No.
Yeah, but just to mention, I know we're, I respect what Neil says about our net, but I'm more interested, our long-term goals is to get assessments for that and get some buildings there. I'm not gonna lose any sleep if we don't make a lot of money on the actual sale, because with the tortoise problem that's there, and it's gonna be a good thing for the community if we could just get it out of our hands and get somebody to develop it, in my opinion.
I would agree with that assessment. The district isn't in business to make money off selling land. The district is in business to develop it.
I'm more interested in trying to get a bid from Hornick that is acceptable to us, rather than going to this second party. I'm not got any interest in paying taxes for that property. That's whoever wants to buy it, that's their issue, along with the mitigation. We already know there's a problem there. it would seem to me that it's obvious in 6 months he would come back and say, no, I can't take care of that because I don't own this other land in order to move those tortoises and skinks and whatever else we have to, blue jays or scrub jays. So my thought is that we go with Hornick, and he needs to come to the table and give us his best. Because if he doesn't, then I think if it's not acceptable, then we open up the gates and let this other guy talk. But right now, I'm more interested in Hornick getting on with it.
I'm glad, it's very seldom that I find myself agreeing with the president of the board. But I have to admit, in this particular issue, I agree with Mike. It's not how much we make off of this deal. It's the fact that we get rid of it. If somebody gets it and builds on it, and we get, eventually we'll get the assessments from it. If the two proposals that we've got are not acceptable, then that's the end of that conversation. They're not acceptable. We don't accept it. Now, if you want to go back to both and say they're not acceptable, give you your next shot. I think that's up to Dan. If you want to go back to one, that's up to Dan. But you're saying, here's my two proposals. I don't think they're good. So we're saying, okay, they're not good.
And like I say, that is what I'm saying. I don't think either one of their current form is good. The question is do you want us to actively try to negotiate with either party or just say these are unacceptable?
I want Dan to sell the damn property. That's what I do. And if he thinks he can do it with Hornick, then I think he should do it. If he thinks he can do it with the other guy.
Is there any reason we can't negotiate with both of them?
No, there's no reason we can't negotiate with both. So, I mean, we can come up with,
It's probably.
I think that based on the simplicity of the second offer, we can come up with what I would have to call a counter offer. And we can, if the board approves it, we submit it, see what they say. We can sit down with Hornick and see if we can come up with negotiate a contract that at least district personnel and myself have no problem recommending to the board, and the board can make a decision based on our recommendation.
I mean, have we ever talked to this other company?
No.
So
They
I mean, my first thing,
emailed an offer in. I've been in conversation with them. So I think, from my opinion, just trying to sell the property, conversations with Hornick, the issue is with Hornick's offer is he's trying to piecemeal it out versus these other people are taking full responsibility with the tortoises, with the skinks and paying assessments. And that is more beneficial for the district in terms of assessments.
then we should get that agreement in writing.
So my proposal, my recommendation would be, let's go back to Hornick and say, Hornick, you've done your feasibility, you've done the study. We're not gonna play this, piecemeal game. Take the property, here's what we're asking for. If he declines, then we go to the other offer and we tell them something similar, and we add a provision that for every month, after, we'll give you 60 days to look it over, figure out the tortoise situation. After 60 days, we're gonna retain 10 grand and it's not fundable. And then after the other 90 days, we keep giving 10 grand. But put some onus on them, the more they drag it out, it's gonna cost them some money because the district's out on advertising, and potentially tying it up with another contract. So we'll continue to advertise, we'll continue to keep it online, but.
Are you saying they know about it, all of the mitigation problems that are out there?
They know about the majority of it. Their concern is infrastructure costs and some other engineering that they need to go do. And I think 60 days is a pretty standard feasibility study for someone to go in.
But they want 6 months.
That's what I'm saying. I don't agree. That would be my only caveat to the second proposal is I don't agree with 6 months because I don't want to happen. What happened with Hornick is he tied it up for 6 months and then walked away. And we didn't get anything. We just tied it up for 6 months and never accomplished anything. So I think we should have some sort of provision to say there's going to be some sort of penalty or part of the deposit done for service.
Keep things in the kind of deal with Hornick.
I would say that Tanya was negotiating with Mr. Hornick when I got here. We have continued to do so. The issue has been the tortoises that are there and how much it's going to cost to mitigate for them. I think we now have it took months to get an answer. Okay, you got so many on the first phase, you got so many on the second phase. How much is it going to cost to get them moved and where you got to move them to? I mean, it's not a simple deal. I think he's negotiating in good faith. And I think we could probably eliminate most of the issues that are not acceptable to the district without getting too far ahead, without a whole lot of issue. I think we're pretty close to a deal with Mr. Hornick. I don't have an issue. I agree with Omar, if they're willing to take it.
Check as is.
I'm good with that, but I can,
But I would like to offer that one first, I think.
Had they bought other property here in Florida?
They tried to buy some property through the county bid, they haven't been successful, so that's why they're trying to acquire the two. If they want to come in and develop,
Have they bought any other place in Florida and
I
developed?
have not asked them that far. We've only done district conversations as far as properties.
I mean, clearly, we need to know more about this developer and if they'll ever develop projects of the acres that we're looking at and where those are, you know, whether this is somebody that's really worth talking to. But I agree, I mean, and I don't think they need to be go Hornet first and then go to these guys. I think we can be negotiating with both. So the property's on the market, we can negotiate with both. So go to Hornet and say, look.
The only reason we say one at a time is as soon as you counter, that first contract is null and void. So as soon as we make a counter to each one, the original contract's on. So if we counter to Hornick,
Okay.
he stays at the table, now we only have one offer.
Okay.
So we need to be careful of whether we're gonna counter, because if we counter, then it goes away.
I'm not saying count. What you suggested was going to Hornick and say, look, you know, we've got this other offer on the table. You look at the project, you figure out how to make it happen, and come back to us with a more reasonable offer. And at the same time, we can be researching this other company and saying, okay,
it's not really.
taking it off the market for 6 months doesn't make sense to us. This is the issues that we have. These are the things we know what really makes sense. And can you come back to us with a better offer? So we're asking them to come back. We're not countering anything at this point. We're just keeping the discussions going with both to see what kind of a deal we can get.
I think with the second
It's
part,
not, it's really not that simple deal, because the offer that Mr. Hornick has made contains some things that are good and some things that are not so much.
Well, I don't like the concept of piecemealing the project. And I would prefer to have somebody take the whole project, and I'd like to see if Mr. Horner can figure out how to do that. I think he can. Maybe he can't, but I think that's what we asked him to do while we are trying to figure out whether this other guy who is willing to take the whole project has the capability of doing it. Because I would prefer
Yeah,
to
we
sell
don't
it
know anything
all.
about them. I mean, either way.
yeah, the second, like I said, the second offer accomplishes everything that we want. The only downside is if they cancel after 6 months. That is the only downside. So our counter should be how do we eliminate that?
Yeah, exactly. Well.
So it's gonna require a counter, because we know that that's the only thing that we need to secure this deal.
Well,
We know that Hornick is the real, we don't know that these other people. I mean, that's really the issue for me.
yeah, we need to know more about this other part. There's no question about that. And whether or not they're even capable and have the funding.
And what,
I mean.
So what their plans are, yeah, what their plans are.
Yeah, what the plans are, 'cause I don't have any visions of a trailer park out there.
It could happen.
That's right.
Let me make one point. I am totally neutral. You know, I've looked at both, that there are pluses and minuses to both. The question for me is, which one is best for Sun Lake? They are very, very small lots. That is one of the issues with it, and that's one of the issues that Hornick ran into, I think, when he was doing his study. You look at the assessments that are portioned to them, it's a bunch of money per year because of the number of lots, because it basically is a tangle budget in essence. So without disclosing any terms of anything to anybody, that's the issue, that's the biggest issue that I think he ran into. And that's why he's trying to tone the thing so that he can actually buy pieces of it and buy the next. But I think, I have no idea about the other. It would be ideal if somebody would take it all. I would say that, and just pay us whatever the number is.
Does anybody here have a proposal from the supervisors to keep them both in the game and continue this?
Just one more question. Which way do you want to go? As a district, as the acting district manager, which way do you recommend to the board that we should go?
I would probably negotiate with Mr. Warnick first because I have been dealing with him and I know that he's for real. I don't know these other people that are. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know. I said I would go with him first.
I think probably my recommendation would be to let us, Dan, myself, Omar, work with, getting some information about the second party and come up with 2 counter proposals. We can meet with Mr. Hornick and see if we can come up with something that's in agreement with him, but come back to the board. I would say at the latest at the end of August, the second meeting in August with 2 recommendations as far as counter proposals, and the board can make a decision whether they want to send a counter offer to Hornick or a counter offer to this third party. Or potentially both and see who accepts it.
I'm not even sure you're gonna get a counter.
Well, no, the district would make the counter offer.
Oh, we're gonna make counter offer to them.
Right, and I think in creating that counter offer, you need to do the homework on the new company and have discussions with them as to what their plans are and all of that. So I think you keep discussions going with the plan, present a counter offer to both because neither of their offers are acceptable.
Because like I said, we can specifically put that in a counter offer is that the land can't be developed as a mobile home park. It has to be developed as, single family residence or multifamily, but not mobile home park. You can absolutely create that in offer.
I don't know that I would.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that's possible.
Yeah, because I mean, at one point we had actually talked about whether or not so.
Thank you.
Okay, does somebody have a proposal?
Well, I think we've got direction. And
Okay, is that enough then?
unless someone wants to make a specific motion, I think we've got some
Okay,
direction.
So what we make sure I understand what I'm supposed to do. I'm confused at this point. You want me to go back to Mr. Hornick and see if I can negotiate a deal that I think would be acceptable to the board. Do the same with the other people and then bring them both back to you, or do you want me to talk to one? I don't know. It's kind of hard to negotiate with both parties because I know what the other one's offering. It seems to me it would be more appropriate to tell me to go see if you can cut a deal with these guys that's acceptable, or the other guys, but whichever one you want. I can't. I know too much about both offers to be totally independent.
I'd rather see you try to cut the deal with Hornick.
Me too,
And I know, do our due diligence on the other one.
Not to be contrarian here, but I negotiated a lot of deals and knowing what the other party is offering actually helps you as a negotiator understand what's going to be best for the district. So as you continue your conversation, so you're not necessarily negotiating a set deal. You're talking to both parties about this is what we're trying to accomplish. How can you help us get there?
I would agree if I hadn't already been talking to Mr. Hornick for 6 months.
I understand that. We talked to Mr. Warren for 6 months and we haven't got a deal that we can accept. And that's why I don't want to discount this new company that we don't know anything about, that may be worthless or maybe good. And we can start researching it, we may throw them out completely, but as long as they're there, there's a potential that they're going to be a great.
I'm not saying we should blow them off, but I'm just saying that I don't really want to. There's stuff I know that they don't know, and I'm not sure I really want to.
I think those are upfront. This is what we know. This is the mitigation that needs to be taken into your consideration.
Maybe Omar can continue to talk to them. I don't know that I haven't talked to them at all, but I'll do whatever I tell you. But if I'm hearing you right, you want me to talk to Hornick?
All right, you can vote on this. My proposal is,
Okay, so I'll take that, there's a motion on the table that we initiate negotiations with Fornic as soon as possible, to try and come up with a plan.
Second.
Motion and a second, any further discussion or public comment?
Any public comment?
Supervisor Brooks,
yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
Supervisor Phillips,
Yes.
Supervisor Hoteling,
No.
President Gilpin.
Yes. And there won't be anything made final, but Dan will come up with what he feels the best.
Correct, we will come back to the board with a proposal.
My intention would be at the next board meeting to have a proposal or a report, but I can't get one that I think is acceptable, in which case we'll proceed the other.
Correct.
That was difficult.
Add-on items,
None,
petitions and communication,
none.
staff reports.
Supervisors, I will start with golf course maintenance update. As you know, we've had some closures over the past few weeks since I spoke to you last, and I just wanted to update you on all of the things that we have done. Both courses have been aerified wall to wall. Obviously, that helps with compaction for more car traffic and also with drainage. It just helps with the turf breathe. Verticutting, we've been very aggressive with the verticutting over the past couple of weeks. The turtle greens have been verticut 8 times and the deer greens have been verticut 4 times. We will continue to verticut and top dress, hopefully on a bi-weekly schedule, depending on what we have going on. This is to help remove thatch and grain from the greens. It's going to help us get a little better putting surface. We will follow the verticutting with top dressing, which helps firm the greens up a little bit so the ball marks aren't quite noticeable. It also give you a better and truer roll as well. So we will continue that in our program. Both courses have been sprayed wall to wall with post-emergent herbicide. Right now, currently, we're going around turtle with a second application, basically spot spraying, not necessarily wall to wall, but it'll be in the kind of hot areas, if you will. Some of these weeds take 2 applications to eradicate, so we're going around with that second application now. It's just imperative that we keep up with that process at this time, and then obviously going into next year, we're going to have a stronger pre-emergent program, so we don't find ourselves in a similar situation next year. We sprayed out all the tree rings on deer, and we will continue that on turtle as well. The greens on both courses have been sprayed to spray out the Kalinga. I'm not sure if you've been out there and noticed the one weed that we've had on the greens that is Kalinga, and we have sprayed for those a second time on deer. And we're having some success getting rid of the Kalinga. Update on the practice area. I spoke to most of you yesterday. So the irrigation install will start the first week of August, which is next week. Once the irrigation is complete, we can begin planting the greens and surrounds. The greens will be planted with mini verde sprigs. The rest will be certified 419 Bermuda. There will be greens mix placed in the green areas, and we'll put the sand in the bumpers. Will start next week as well.
Is that still on schedule for October 1st?
That is still on schedule for October 1st. It is a tight timeline. We will be pushing those areas as much as we can with fertilizer as we go along. Obviously, we're not going to open that area if it's not complete.
That would be a huge disappointment.
The goal is still October 1st, and we're going to do everything we can to do that. Obviously, there's some factors outside of our control, but that is the goal, and we're going to do everything we can to make it. Yes.
That would be a total screw up on your part.
Well,
if it's not done,
we'll do our best. The surrounding area there we're going to continue to clean that up and have some extra parking there, so folks utilizing that area will have some place to park. the naturalized areas out there, some of the wildflower areas have been removed or will be removed due to weed contamination. In those areas, if they get weedy, you can't spray for herbicide, as it's gonna kill the wildflowers anyway, so. We're gonna go ahead and remove those. We're trying to get all the naturalized areas with some high grass out there, and out there. Trying to cut those down, those areas, we probably mow about 3 times a year. Areas like the left side of between 16 and 17 on deer, those areas we're talking about. Nematodes, we've had some really good success with iron humate. It makes the turf less desirable for nematodes, so it doesn't, we've had a lot of success battling the nematodes with that. We've done 2 applications on the greens, and we will follow up to check on the counts and see if they're brought down. And that's it for maintenance. On the golf side, we're near the completion of our membership packets. As soon as everything's finalized, we're gonna get these out. It takes several hours to put together and make sure everything's correct. So we have to be ahead of the game because we obviously want to try to send that out hopefully sometime in the middle of August. So we're really two weeks away from trying to get those out. So that process is nearing completion. And just so you know, it does have the code of conducts and ethics in there. So that was requested by the board. So that is in there. Just wanted to clarify that as requested. Going into August, we do have our normal large firemen's and Sertoma golf tournaments. They'll be coming up in August. Inside the clubhouse, I don't know if you've been in there, if you noticed, we're doing some painting and cleaning up some of the areas that needed some touch-up paint. We're also been painting trim areas around the clubhouse to help brighten it back up. Starting today, we're having the carpets professionally cleaned in the clubhouse. In order to do it with the least amount of intrusion to our guests, we're going to go over the process of 3 days. Today's the first day of that, and then we have over the next couple of weeks with working with the company, we will have 2 more days to do that. The idea is to not impact what we're doing inside the clubhouse, but it may require us to move some people around momentarily, but the idea is to not do that. We do have several events scheduled in August. I'll just highlight some of our in-house events. We have Trivia Night on the 3rd. The Mexican Fajita Night is on the 17th. The SML Resident Night is on the 21st. We have live music on the 27th. We do have 1 wedding in August, and we do have several other banquets in the state. We have those tournaments, which the one has a tournament lunch. So that is all I have from my report. If anybody has any questions.
I've been asked by a resident, is the staff in Island View Restaurant, have all of the people in there that are associated with the restaurant been vaccinated?
Mr. Ramsey can speak on that.
Short answer is no. We do not require vaccination as part of our employment. I know that we do ask that the CDC, they follow CDC recommendations, so if the members, guests, and staff are not vaccinated, we do ask that they continue to wear a mask. We do not, we're on an honor system right now. It's a very slippery slope. I mean, obviously, when we started, the governor passed an executive order, Florida 21-102, which then went to the point where basically lifted all COVID mandates and restrictions for government agencies. In some like in the district, we do follow that. Also, if we can ask if you've been vaccinated. I can't ask any follow-up questions. So I personally try to, I'm vaccinated. I think everyone should be, but it is a personal opinion, and there's a lot of people that believe the vaccination is worse than the disease. That kind of tells you where we are. I would think, just as a general guess, that we're right along the same lines of, Highlands County in Florida, which is about a 50% rate. So my guess is 1 out of every 2
Has anybody, to our knowledge, contacted the disease in the last couple of months?
To my knowledge, nobody on the staff has
Anybody
tested
membership? I haven't heard anything, that's why I'm.
not to my knowledge.
We had multiple employees that had COVID back in the height of it, but nobody that I know of in the last 6 weeks.
We have not heard anything here, it's required to go to HR for employee wise, I have had outbreaks in Orlando, in Naples, so. You know, we've had employees that are vaccinated, that have come down with COVID and tested positive. And the effects are very limited.
Well, based on the reporting, we're back up to over 20 cases a day in Highlands County.
Probably the way
Where-
the Florida code, I would assume so.
That's what they're reporting, it's over 20 cases a day.
If I remember correctly, Ariel, when we were talking to the hospital about the fitness center, they were down to 1 case in the hospital at that point in time, and we're looking forward to being down to none. But now that was 6 weeks ago, so it is, I think, having a resurgence, but it's resurging from a very low level. I don't know what to tell you.
How's the writing through the department?
To my knowledge, I don't think I have not had any issues with any members coming to me and refusing to do so. In past the first week or so we did it. I think other than the special cases that we have allowed for, due to special circumstances, that I won't speak on personally, but, I think we're at pretty much 100% compliance.
How many special cases are there?
I know of 2.
And one other thing, you mentioned golf tournaments in the summer. When you come back to us with what's gonna happen with the golf courses, maybe you should have a plan for what you're gonna do with the tournament.
Yeah, so just real quick on that, that's been part, I've thought about that as well, so that'll be part of the process. I don't see where we can't make that happen, we should be fine.
It's gonna be tough to have a tournament, 9 on beer, 9 on soda, and the rest of the membership.
Right, so the short answer is in part of the process is that at any given point in time, we can have both courses open for 2 days. Because we're not tearing the entire golf course up. So if we ask the contractor to stop, you're gonna complete X amount to this point, we could open both courses for 2 days and then get them back out for their work. Those tournaments on the weekend, they're not gonna be working on a Saturday or Sunday anyway. So if they complete their work on Friday, then we can play Saturday, Sunday, they can come back on Monday, we can have both courses, 36 holes open on any given weekend, so. We have thought of that, and I don't see it impacting what we're doing.
Okay, just make sure you include it in your presentation next week.
Yes, we will do.
Couple of days for me, last week, Dan and I met with the county assistant attorney to discuss the non-edible fire assessment that the district got billed. The county assistant attorney deemed that we were improperly billed. So they're going through the process of trying to figure out how they're going to mediate all our tax bills and save us that $15,000 on taxes that we hadn't paid. We didn't pay the bill, we were waiting for their response. And came out best case scenario that we're not paying $15,000. So we're waiting on that to get fixed, and then we'll pay the bill when it comes due. Sent you guys an email regarding county lot sales, all 536 lots within the county. Did get a bid on them. Deposits were due last Thursday, so county scrambling to get all those lots closed on the books. The intent is for them to get them closed prior to October, so we can get them on our tax roll and build them assessments here for November. We built that into our budget, so we're accounting for all that. On the district side, we've issued 61 permits so far, we're up to 61. So I want to give you an update there. We consistently getting probably about 2 a week, so we're still seeing progress. It is slowing down a little bit. It's pretty consistent as far as the district's concerned. And then just wanted to update. We've been working hard, obviously, we worked hard on units 12. We got the initial contract with Hornet. We just got the second offer, so we've been fielding phone calls on the other side, on the sales side, trying to get unit 12 promoted. So we're happy about being able to bring that second offer to the table and at least for you guys for review. So we've been working hard. We just want to give you guys an update on that.
Any questions on the finance side?
Good morning, supervisors. A couple of quick updates. The first of which is that the pool resurfacing project has been completed, so the pool officially opened back up on Monday. The resurfacing looks great within the pool. The coloring is beautiful. If you have not seen it, I highly encourage you to go over and take a look. While we were closed for 2 weeks, we did perform a great number of maintenance tasks in the pool area and deck area as well, some of which include trees and landscaping. So we did a lot of tree trimming, landscaping around the area was kept up or fixed up to look really nice. There were tiles that were repaired in the shower area, so we took advantage of the time that we had closed to fix that. We did a deep clean of the facilities, and then there was also a silver palm that was problematic. It was brought to our attention a little while ago, specifically from the leak detection company. They said that it is probably one of the worst trees that you could put near a pool, because the roots will continue to grow underground and they will seek water. So they are typically the cause of pipe breaks and different leaks for pools. So that was removed by TWQ on Friday as well. So the area is looking really good, and I encourage you to go over and take a look at the pool if you have not seen that. And then one last update, at the last meeting, I mentioned that Corbett had agreed to sit and work with me on the FERDAP application. And the process for that, I did meet with Corbett. He and I sat down one afternoon and he walked me through the entire FERDAP application. We took lots of notes, and he let me know what documents we need to start gathering to submit the FERDAP application for the playground. So he and I did meet, and that is complete. The application for the FERDAP is due in October. So between now and then, obviously, I'll be working to get that done. There are some documents that will likely have to come from Drew, or some different construction type documents that will be submitted with that as well. But just to let you know, that particular application is a work in process. So I am working on getting that completed.
Okay, is that it? I see Mr. Hurley left.
Mr. Hurley left, he left me a note that his group had performed 808 watch orders this week of the month and issued 188 code enforcement notices. Just as kind of an aside, we met with David, Bob Brumfield, and Mr. Hurley, and we're going to immediately begin citing people who continual violators, I guess is the best way to say it. Once they've been noted, for example, Mr. Brumfield felt that if you park on the grass, which you are not supposed to do, and he cited you for doing so, then you had a day or two to cure that, and then the next time you did it, he had to cite you again. David's position is that once you've been cited, you're a violator, and the next time you get fined. So that'll be a significant change. We've pretty much been on a treadmill, if you will, with some of these people who just, they know that it's been that way. So that's changing. In addition, we're going to start enforcing the setback rules in the fact of some of the properties people have built fences and sheds and all sorts of stuff in the center and have put setback on the back of the properties, which then keeps us from being able to use mechanized equipment to mow that area. So we're going to start enforcing that. That has not been enforced either. So a lot of stuff going on in the code enforcement. If you have any more comments. I think that's it.
General Counsel report.
Yes, first I'd like to thank the supervisors for moving the meeting to today. With my wife's health issues, we had a conflict, and we'll be at Mayo Center on Thursday and Friday with her. So I appreciate us being able to move the meeting. Castro litigation remains stagnant. We're still no decision from the second DCA. The Avanti matter regarding the water meters, I'm expecting Mr. Laconia is with opposing counsel trying to come up with mediation dates where that apply to everybody's calendar. So as soon as I have those dates from him, we'll be setting a mediation date. We've already discussed really the Unit 12 offers, and we have our direction moving forward there. And as Dan said, we had a meeting with Mr. Bronfeld regarding code enforcement, and I expect there probably will be a rise in special magistrate issues, because if you're cited and you pay, you can pay the fine at a 75% rate, meaning if you're charged $100, if your citation is $400, you can pay 75 and not have to appear before the special magistrate. Otherwise, if you don't pay it, then you're set before the special magistrate. So my guess is the number of citations that'll be going out, there will probably be an increase in special magistrate cases. Mark Reed is our special magistrate, and will, if those dramatically increase, I may sit on a few of those hearings just so I can give a better report to the board as far as what's going on. Other than that, that's all I have, unless there's questions.
I got a question. I asked Dan this and Omar this yesterday. Isn't there something we can do about this property on Granada? That house that's sitting there, that's not a house, and
The shell.
it's a shell. I mean, just.
Oh, as far as well, if it has, I guess the question is, if it has an active permit, do we know if the permit's active or?
Yes and no. There was no expiration date on the old permit. We changed that after this property incident, but
No, but the county permit's current?
I don't know what the county.
Okay, I can check into it, because the county permit, my understanding is the county permit is only valid for a year.
This is over here.
But if they're maintaining it, like every year, if they. Okay, no, I mean, maintaining the permit.
Oh.
I mean, if they're maintaining the permit, I'm not sure. Based on my recollection from construction law, is that if you keep a permit active and do a bare minimum of work, that you're allowed to maintain it, but if no work is occurring.
I know they're paying the taxes, we check that out, but as far as improvement of the building, I don't believe they're gonna do any separate.
Okay.
No, I was told that, I think it was from Tanya, don't quote me, but we were just about to get the property and they paid $5,000 or $7,000 in back something and kept it alive.
Okay, I'll check into it and see if there's anything code enforcement wise we can do to force them to move it along or start fighting them.
I don't think they have the intention of finishing.
No, but they have to tear it down and start.
Yeah, I think the parking is right up, and it's not a pretty situation, I don't think, but it's, we would love to see it resolved, for sure.
Okay,
I'll check into it.
Thank you.
General manager report.
I have a further question. On mediation, how does that work? Should we have a shadow meeting where we can provide criteria for what we can do in mediation? I mean, or do we just say negotiate whatever you can?
Well, basically, the way that I would see that moving forward is once a mediation date is set, we'll have myself, Dan, and someone from the board attend that mediation with the understanding that it would require board approval, and we would go forward. Then, so when after we have mediation, we would then come and have a shade meeting to discuss the mediation. And the board would make a decision in that shade meeting whether to settle or to move forward with litigation.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, general manager report.
A little bit of the manhole inspection discussion. This is not quite as straightforward as it originally appeared. Sometime back in 2019, Israel Serrano, who was the utility guy here, made a presentation to the board that he was having a contractor come in and inspect manholes and repair the ones that needed it. My probably address this better than I can. You wanna
Sorry.
talk about that now?
Yeah. The manhole that we did, sorry about this, I had to run. We're talking to one on Villabella.
The whole issue.
Okay, all right, hang on. The manhole on Villabella.
Please use a microphone.
sorry.
I don't know if you have anybody listening in.
Okay.
It's difficult.
The manhole in Villabella, I think I sent stuff to you, all you guys. I mean, when I took Drew out there myself, and Joey, it was, no one has ever seen a manhole that bad with all the wires everywhere. So, and the bottom of the manhole was all corroded, and it was falling down. It was actually pinching the pipe that was there. So, so that's how we had to do that right away. That was emergency. So that's the one on Villabella. It's done. It actually went pretty smooth once we got in there, once we did all the locates. The contractor, KDL, did a great job. Very, very happy with what they did. There weren't too many complaints from the residents. They did turn our pump off in the middle of the night, but I think it was running all night long because we had to get the water out of there. And I'm sure they were upset, but that was the only problem we had. We got that done. But on the manholes, we've had in 2019 and 20, we inspected 67 manholes. And we've also did 11 lift stations inspected. Now the inspection on the lift stations are done yearly, monthly by Sun Lake employees. We have to start investing some money into our infrastructure. And I think y'all know that. That's not a surprise. Since Dan been here, we've been very aggressive fixing a lot of things, which is really good. We bring them to him and he brings them to you, and at least you guys know also what's going on. We are in the process of hiring a company that comes in and they videotape all the pipe and the manholes, which is really going to help us because it's going to give us a better idea of see what condition you're in. Before we used to do a smoke test, I never liked the smoke test because the smoke test, what happens with that is the smoke will come out of the ground, but we actually really don't know exactly where it is because it will follow the pipe.
So you're hiring a company?
We're in the process, yeah.
To do exactly.
To put cameras in the pipe, only it's on the lake, not Tanglewood right now. They should be giving us a price for the next week or two to do all Sun Lake, and that'll give us a report of actually what condition everything's in and where it is.
So are they gonna check, I'm not that good on this subject, but apparently the problem with the Villabella one was they didn't do the bottom, they looked at the top.
What happened, Max Environmental, they do sealing of the manholes. So they'll go and they'll look inside, and if there's water leaking on the side, they'll take a concrete or epoxy and seal all those areas up. The problem with them is they don't have the ability to check the bottoms.
So this company that you're hiring now.
We'll do everything and we'll get a report of what condition the pipe going into it, the bottoms, top. Right now we have one out in front, and I was telling Danny it's an old brick one. Well, anyone that's been around a long time, like you and I, Ray and Mike, knows that the brick manholes, the old ones were done by brick, not by concrete. Okay. Well, so we still have a few of those in front. But actually, most of the stuff out front is at least 45 to 50 years old. Now, concrete, okay, that's pretty much the lifespan for a manhole. So,
How many manholes we got? How many can they check?
okay, we can, Max Environmental can rehab only the sides, not the bottoms, but they can repair the ones that aren't real bad condition. They can do 30 or 40 a year.
When you
With them.
say not really bad condition, my
Well, I
understanding
mean-
was they repaired this one, not
Right.
knowing how bad the condition was.
No, they didn't repair it. They were going to repair it. You know, luckily we caught it. We had a lot of problems in an area because the homes around there were backing up. Back in it, right? So when Joey and I went over there, I said, well, you know, let's check it out. We opened it up. And it actually looked pretty good until we got way down, and then, you know, you could tell the whole bottom. And then when you saw the pipe was a 10-inch pipe. It was about a 3-inch pipe, you know, when we got down here. Now, Max Environmental wouldn't have caught that. Because that's, you know, I mean, they're basically tops and sides.
So we're gonna stop doing that.
Well, we're not gonna stop doing them. We are gonna go and inspect them with them also. And, well, we're gonna stop doing them until we get the video, yes.
But if Max can't do the whole thing, we're gonna get those.
Well, because a lot of times, right, it's cheaper. I mean, if the bottoms are still good, right? And
How do
this,
you know?
well, that's how we're gonna find out with the video.
But how are you gonna know next year?
Max didn't catch the-
Why can't we have a company who can do?
That's exactly what we have, right? That's exactly what we got coming in.
But that, we don't need the other company.
Well, we do because because the company that inspects them doesn't repair them. They just give us a report and we hire our own contractors.
There's $250,000 in the budget for next year
Right.
for camera inspection. It's basically infiltration.
Right.
Where they will send a camera. It's like a robot, as I understand.
Right, exactly.
That will go through the actual sewer pipe, through every sewer pipe that's under the lake, not tangle it. Will give us a report, here's where the issues are. Then we can get it.
So we're gonna find out what's wrong.
Yes.
Right.
Do we have money in the budget to cover what
There's,
we're gonna need?
come on, Mike. Help me with the number. OMAD is what, $200,000?
200,000, yeah. That's what we get.
And
But
What account? What account?
that would come out of Joey's maintenance account, you know, repairs.
But
I'm just saying, I don't think we got enough.
honestly, we don't.
And you know what, Ray? I'm with you. I don't think we got enough money because the further we go.
Supposedly, we did this investigation of the manholes to find out the conditions so that we could get the money in there.
Yeah.
What happened?
The only thing they're inspecting, the only thing Max Environmental is inspecting is the top. If water is coming in, then they can see it and they can seal it. This thing is in the bottom and it will tell us what our issues are.
And also
How
the
much money
pipe.
we need to put in there, the pipe as well.
Right.
How much money we need to put in there for repairs, your guess is as good as ours. But I think it's 200,000.
So we got.
It may be more than that, and if it does, we'll bring you a budget amendment.
Right.
You gotta put a number in now.
How many manholes do you have?
We have 420, 450.
How many can you check, test a year?
Well, we're gonna do something like only first. So I don't know exactly what the camera can actually do because I actually haven't talked to the company how long it's gonna take him to videotape the whole Sun and Lake. And I'll bring that back to you next meeting. We're actually gonna meet with them next week.
What you were told 2 years ago sounds good, but it really wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't enough.
They didn't do it.
Well, we did.
We didn't do enough.
We didn't do enough. At least we started.
But the question is, how do we know the camera is gonna be enough?
Well, the camera's gonna show us everything that we
It's
have.
gonna show us the.
They'll show us
base of
everything.
the manholes around.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah. See, it's like a
Actually,
little
as soon
robot.
actually goes through the sewer pipe into the manhole and out the other side. So you can, you'll know what you got once you get it done.
Right.
That thing has been in the budget for multiple years, and it kept getting delayed with talk of the smoke test.
But if you wanted to see, like if you went there, they have a truck and you can actually sit in their truck and watch it go through and see everything that's in there. So it's gonna give us a much better idea of what condition and where it is, how bad it is.
Bottom line is that's probably the definition of nothing to do if you want to sit in that truck and watch it go through the pipe. But what we need to know is we just need an inspection, and that's what we got to do to figure out where the problems really are. If you want my honest opinion, you got 40 and 50-year-old stuff all in front of some of them. So most of your issues are probably there. However, you can also in some of our streets see where it's sinking around the manhole cover itself. Sunrise is an example. I would guess we got an issue there. I don't know how big it is, but we will know once we get through this.
Well, we
The
replaced.
bottom line is you gotta start, once you figure out where the problem is, then you gotta go dig it up to figure out exactly what the problem is. So
We got 100,000 in the budget right
We have 100,000 for lift station manholes and then 100,000 for repairs and maintenance sewer.
correct. So it's 200 grand. If that's not enough,
Yeah, we can always come back and get more.
Right. But at least we're started. We're finally, I mean, right
now.
now,
We supposedly started in 2019.
and we have done some, you know, we've done repair on it. We repaired about 30 small repairs. We also replaced 4 big manholes.
How many did you inspect that the 30 required repair?
50 something he did.
So 50, that's 60, so 60% of it, so
Yes.
420. We got 250 manholes out there that need repaired.
Possibly, yeah.
and the issue is, all he's seeing is water infiltration in the top. I don't know what you got.
It could be worse.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Well-
it's sealed. It's not a permanent.
The new
Bottom line
ones,
is we're starting.
You mentioned this doesn't include Tanglewood. Are we responsible for theirs?
Yes.
yeah,
Are we gonna do anything about them?
yes.
When?
As soon as we finish with this.
As soon as we finish up front, I mean, we can't,
Should we
yeah.
put a study into them the year after?
well, we do for next year. That's what we like to camera that area in Tanglewood
Is it in the, we have it in the budget for that?
for next, well, this is 2023. That'd be 23, yeah. No, we don't have it for 23, but we'll put that in there.
We're putting this in 21, 22.
Right.
This is for next year's number.
Right, yeah, we should probably put it as a capital request for Tanglewoods.
I don't know how big Tanglewood is. It's not that many, but not anywhere close to as many as we got.
No.
So it'll be.
I mean, I don't know exactly what they have. I never, no.
We'll find out. But bottom line is we'll get it done.
But you gotta
Just
remember
like everything
Tanglewood's
else,
newer
yes.
too.
Yep, you gotta
Right.
get started somewhere.
Tanglewood's not as old as this.
I feel so much better. So that was-
Well, I'm glad you finally do. So,
I mean, let's not drop the ball.
no, hey, listen, I agree. Listen, since Dan been in, we've got a lot of manhole and I know it drives you guys crazy. He's calling you and saying, we got another one. Okay. It's something that we, it's not that we want to do it. We have to do it.
Every time he sends an email, I know. it costs-
I know, you're right. Well, at least we're consistent.
Anything else, Dan?
Yeah. Just give you a quick update. Torrega Street is pretty much done.
Yeah, they should be doing the concrete hopefully today. That's where I just left a second ago. It may rain, so we're doing some concrete work, sidewalks, and we're doing some stuff on Lake on the golf course right now. Thank God they gave us an early drop, so, but Torrega is supposed to be at 1 o'clock today, and I don't know what the weather's gonna be, so I don't know where they are, but.
That'll be
Does it look, how does it look after that significant rain yesterday?
I didn't go by there this morning, but the last few days I have. We had one area that was kind of bad. We went back in and took some soil out and put more gravel. what they put in there originally was horrible fill. So, you know, it didn't drain or anything. We changed a lot of that. I've only had one complaint from a resident. There was too much water, but we found out that we hit his, well, we didn't, but the contractor hit his sprinkler system and it was leaking all night long. So that's what happened there. So. Okay.
Okay, anyway, Terrain Street's about done,
Yeah.
and hopefully, all we gotta do is finish the driveways, and then,
Yeah.
I don't know if they put in the sod yet.
The sod's been ordered, so once the concrete gets in, sometime next week, everything should be done there, so.
We also have a proposal from a company called Meters, to review our meter situation, water meter situation. I know, Omar, that they gave us a price to look at it, and then they gave us a price to help us decide, formulate our RFP, and then review it and decide which one we should take. I don't think we have anybody on staff, certainly not me, that's qualified to do that, so we probably need at least somebody. I'm not sure Meter Systems is the only one in the world that does that, but we need to find out. Bottom line is we're working on getting the meters done, and at the same time, we probably will need to replace some of the boxes because they were cheap to begin with, but a lot of them are damaged, so we can have them replaced at the same time we replace the meter. Talk just a second about the interlocal hurricane debris. Everybody has signed that except us. The only reason we haven't is I only got confirmation from Scott yesterday, so I didn't have time to get it on the agenda. But it will come back in the same form that it was before, but now with everybody's signature but ours, including Lake Lessons.
Which way did it go? First way or the second way?
Same way, correct?
Same way,
Second
yeah,
way?
same way.
25%?
Yeah.
Okay. They also-
I think that's it, Mike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unfinished business,
None,
new business,
none.
committee reports.
Do we have any of that either?
What did you say? There's
We
nothing.
don't have any of that.
Okay, public comment.
Bill Norquist again, good morning again. On the irrigation project, I'd just like to review something that was brought up. It's gonna be a 4 or 5 month project. It's very involved. A lot of things can go wrong, the equipment can go down, we can have weather problems. So I'm quite sure Michael has devised a plan so that we will not lose too much revenue by swapping the 9s off one way or the other, either cross over or do one course all by itself. But I have had the experience of a lot of delays and problems and loss of outside play and that sort of thing like that. So the last project was done last year, the green irrigation went, I thought went very, very well. I thought there'd be more delay and everything, but I think everybody was happy with that situation. So good luck with this project, and I hope that you have a contracted time limit or a penalty clause to cover any loss of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, discussion to and from the board.
One thing in regards to our reinforcing our code enforcement, I wonder if it isn't a good idea for us to send out a mailing with the fact that we are going to be very aggressive on our code enforcement. And in fact, if there's a way, I think the code enforcement should in fact identify those things that are that could potentially be violations of the code. I don't know when the last time I would have seen something that says you can't do this, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So, I think it'd be a good idea to be mailing out those cards.
Christie just pointed out, we do have a pamphlet, we can include that in the next one.
That would be great, along with the fact that people, the grace period's over.
Well, we talked to them first, so it's not like
I know.
it's a brand new thing.
But we don't, but we've changed our philosophy.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Is there many of our roads though that apply to all these associations?
They have their own deed restrictions.
Some, yes.
Yes, some of it. Maybe we can encourage some of these other ones to do that too, because you know, I know it's a preserve, they work real hard to try to keep it up, but and the other places maybe not, but that's out of our hands, so I don't know if we can encourage that, but
And part of the issue may be that the penalty is against the property owner, and if the property owner has a renter, the renter may not care. And if we do a mailing, you need to make sure that mailing goes to the property owners, so they understand they're responsible for the rent.
Is that what you send them to?
it worked real good. I know the reserve had a problem with, they removed the lease fence, and which was, I was glad to see it because it was in violation, but it's glad to see that somebody is doing something that's certainly not supposed to be done, so I applaud them for that, but we need more of that. So. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to ask Mike about this. Did you check in the charging stations? We had a problem about a week and a half ago where I forget who I was charging, but it was Parker. And you know, obviously the golf course was real good about coming out and picking us up and giving us an extra car, et cetera, but they didn't have a charging for a Yamaha. I think it was. So I asked Mike to check into possibly purchasing charging units for parts other than the ones in our fleet. So if some of this breaks down, we can just charge it.
I would guess some of those are year specific as well, not just, you'd have to have 20 of them.
Yeah, you'd have to have quite a lot, 36 volt, 48 volt, easy go club car, Yamaha, there's other brands out there. When I priced it out, you're looking at probably an average of $300 a piece. Some probably a little less, some a little more, other ones might be cheaper, but you're also gonna have the liability of charging somebody's car. I don't know if it's worth opening up that can of worms or not. I think it's, in my opinion, we always have somebody, more than happy to give somebody a tow at home. Yeah, we're more than happy to do that.
I'm sure most people are happy with the toll.
Right.
Anyway, so,
That's fine, I just want to bring it up.
okay, I'm gonna adjourn for 10 minutes. And then we'll have all fun. Okay, we're gonna start with the workshop, and this is on all funds. And I don't know where you guys decided who's first.
I'm gonna go ahead and start it off, and we'll start on page 3. Like President Gilbert said, this is workshop number 3. We are having all funds for this discussion. Discuss what changes were made since the last number 2, and kind of where we fall, and then there's some items that we need to adjust going forward. So as of workshop number 3, we made a couple changes. The first being the assessment revenue. We increased the assessment revenue by $200,000. So the last budget was $3.45 million. At this point, we've increased it $3,650,000. That is primarily based on the 500 lots that the county sold. So we have incorporated that into this budget. We also added $10,000 into the buildings and grounds maintenance budget for the replacement or removal of dead trees throughout the district. So the general fund as a whole has $3.8 million in operating revenues, And its expenditures are 3.9 million, including the capital outlay. So that's a negative net loss of 32,950. The golf fund, we reallocated $22,000 from the maintenance budget to capital. It was part of the discussion of the golf equipment. Earlier in the meeting, the board had a consensus that we're just gonna go ahead and buy that outright. So the net loss of $442,495 stayed the same from budget number 2 to budget number 3. We now need to discuss, because we're gonna buy them outright now, do we keep that 22,000 and put it back in the operating budget? Or do we remove that as some sort of repayment for the capital purchase? Like, we just need to decide what we're gonna do with that $22,000. Do it before.
Yeah, and the discussion is, yes, we can do without it. Or, you know, we can reallocate that back into, you know, put it back into the course. I mean, I'm good with either way. If you wanna keep investing in the course and making it better, we can do it that way, or if we need to do without, we.
What do you need it for? That's all.
Right, so the biggest chunk of that.
You weren't gonna handle it, and now you
asked that.
so that's all I'm saying. But.
Do we have to have
About
it?
the 22,000.
Right, do we have to have it, but can we reallocate it back into the course and make it better? Yes, I mean, that's up to you, I mean,
Sure.
I'm good either way.
You know, you keep saying out, reallocating and making the cost better. I need to see what y'all are talking about making the cost better. I mean, I have my own ideas on what we need to do. But if we're gonna keep saying, take this money, we're gonna have to have another conversation about overseeing. And if we don't do that, what's gonna go with that? I mean, that's $50,000-$60,000. And I'm sure it's gonna be the same thing, you want me to put back in the cost, which is fine, but I think we need to know what exactly that means.
Because it just says that there was 60,000 that you should have had in there that you didn't have in there. If you say, you know, that to me is what the 22,000.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So is it possible to come up with, you know, show us what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
I mean, my biggest problem, I think I've been through this, is that Center Lake is great. And this is not just on the golf side, but it's on both sides, the district side as well. Great at doing things, and fixing things, and making them look good, and then we're absolutely horrible at coming back and maintaining. So if you're telling me that 85,000, whatever, is gonna go back into maintaining the golf course, fixing it up, that's great, but I wanna know what it is, so I can see it. And then I can say, yeah, that was well worth it, we spent that 85,000, and look, this is what we're able to do.
No, I totally agree with you, we can absolutely put that together, we just need to know what we're working with, to what we can do, so. I'll do it either way, me and Jimmy will put together a plan and we'll show you what we're gonna do. And that'll be for both projects. If we wanna put the $22,000 back in the budget, it's gonna, you know, a lot of that could be put into our, you know, landscaped areas and beautification projects. If we wanna do some tree work and, you know, the area over by the car path by 18 Deer and making that look better, things behind the clubhouse. You know, all of those projects, we can definitely put together a plan for you for sure.
Mike, I think Ray hit it, that whatever we do with this 22, take it out and then come back with us with what you want to do with it.
I feel like I'm in Congress. I mean, we just spent $100,000 and somehow we came up with 22,000. I mean,
that was the $22,000 was the first year of the lease plan.
I understand, but we're spending $100,000.
Sure.
We're going to spend $22,000. So we're spending $80,000 more, and you're making it sound like we picked up $22,000 somewhere. We're spending more this year already.
Sure.
I don't see that giving it back. Now we're spending $122,000.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I guess I feel consensus is that we want to leave that out and not.
Yeah,
fine.
if you've got projects that we need to look at as capital projects, then let's look at it as capital projects. We're not putting money back into the operation.
These are not capital.
It's supposed to make the operation more effective.
So let's see where that gets.
Yeah, no issues there.
So what did we just say? So we're gonna move the 22,000.
So we're gonna keep the 22,000 out.
And the next conversation.
That's fine. Yeah. So that brings up, the only other thing we need to discuss is overseed. You know, we did speak with, most of you one-on-one, the topic of whether we oversee or not, and,
Here's what I would like to understand, if I may. Because I don't understand, so I want you to get up and tell me what he wants to do and why. And then I can always refer everybody to him.
sounds good. Mr. Murphy would be happy to.
I think that'd be okay.
What do I say?
Take it over, man.
Thank you all again. The biggest thing that I know that a lot of the snowbirds come down with this green when they come to Florida. And I lived in Ocala for 30 years. We did it because we did 130,000 ounces of salt. Basically to protect the earth from wear and tear and cold. Sebring doesn't get that. Okay, it's probably 10 to 15 degrees warmer down here than it is in Ocala. I don't know how many frosts. I wasn't here last year. I'm sure I could go back and look at how many we have. I would say it's probably a handful. If you had 10, it might be
More like 1 or 2.
one or two. So the biggest thing that we oversee is when we oversee, it's actually a smorgasbord for native folks. These areas were all roads and crop areas at one time with the sugar, sand, and nematode counts are high. We just did an essay as soon as I got here. I pulled the nematode samples. They were extremely high. So without treating for those nematodes, we're going to fight even the Bermuda turf. We're going to fight the overseed turf. When you put new seed down there and get new viable, it's like I said, it just makes them populate. They get more active. I would like to take the money and get you out in your fairways. Okay, I'm sure you guys have noticed that there's a red spurge out there. It's like a purple flower. That's the first indicator when I walk on the turf that I see that there's a nematode issue here. Second, I'm full of my essays. I'm seeing how high the counts are. I don't want to fumigate. I mean, I know some of you guys have been in the rock noses, probably know that they've shut the golf courses down, fumigated with curfew and stuff. That's an alternative to do it. But to put seed down in December and start getting rid of it in April and May, I mean, that's $27,000 alone with the product. The overseed right now is up to $1.90 a pound. The availability is very small right now. What I would like to do is get the nematode problems treated and get rid of your turf.
The big question that everybody's going to ask us is, will fairways survive? And the greens will survive through the
Well, the
winter?
rains you didn't notice last year.
Or just the fairways?
Just fairways.
Fairways and tee boxes.
So I would like to do this process. I would definitely like to develop the boxes. The fairways are, you can't pre-emerge. You can't go out with a lot of the weeds that you have right now that we're spraying out was due to the fact that you didn't put a pre-emerge out last year. So you can't do it. It'll kill your others. So you can't, only thing you can create is range.
So you want to do the tee boxes?
The tee boxes
And
and
the
the driving range.
driving so we explain that, that the fairways survive?
Yes, the fairways now would basically go to what you did on the greens last year with your pigments, your urea, and iron sulfate to keep them going. But then it's still, you're still gonna get your definition, because I'm gonna still do electric feed on it once a month. That might equate to about $7,000 over the 4 months that we're talking about having those.
I think that's all the membership cares about, is that the fairways survive.
I want it to look like the pristine properties. Something that when I drive by it, I want to play with.
Right.
And this is the only course in Highlands County that look like that. The last two, the rest of them, they'll be looking like, well, dead grass.
I figured out, you guys got 167,000, or 167 pounds for the acre last year. I know that we talked about doing 200. I figured out all the acreage, everything, it's the 14,000 pounds of seed that you need to get to 200. I know you can move fairways around and everything else. I would just rather grow up your turf. And I'm not gonna do it if I oversee it. There's a lot of stuff I can't do. If I go out there and push that oversee and make it less green and everything, I'm choking out my. It's gonna struggle coming out the swing, no matter how much you do. Putting down that little bit of amount of seed is not protected. You're pushing that little bit of seed, it goes and your root is still exposed. And then not going to pre-emerge on it, and then have the new coverage. It's too late, another reason. Whereas if I can treat for the new coverage, get those treated, and then do a liquid program, that way, your fairways will be really good. I didn't know, I've got like, I ran 30 properties before I came. I probably oversee the 2 of them. Okay, you stay on, it's called a liquid oversee, call it what you want, but your first help you're coming out. If I see a weed out there, I can go out there and treat. And really, if you're opposed to it this year, I'm just saying you're gonna have to treat for your nematodes next year somehow. Mike will tell you that I've already did 2 applications on the greens here. I've also sprayed for 10 acres extra in the areas. We're trying to do the iron humate, which wasn't in the budget. We put out 60 tons of that already. And I can be honest, I think what we're seeing up on Pearl right now, I think it's made a big difference. I think things are healthier between the aerification and the iron humate. It's been a big plus. If I keep throwing that stuff out through the winter, I know you guys don't like it, but I mean, it doesn't smell well. I'm not talking about putting sludge out. I'm talking about putting the iron humate. It's helped it out a bunch of it. And I just like to be able to treat the seeds and get money.
The liquid that you talk about, the liquid fertilizer through the.
Yes, so urea, the iron sulfate and the pigment would actually keep the fairways warmer and keep them not growing as well. My game time is to spray at least once a month, or spraying for every faucet to get that faucet. But I mean, I'm gonna keep them a lot more fertile. Next year in our budget, we have fertigation for the deer. Over on Curly, you got fertigation up there right now, so I can get the feedback on.
Jimmy, when you talk about monthly spraying, and you're talking about pigmentation as well, so the fairways will stay green.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, it's not like they're gonna turn brown like that forward. He's talking about.
But I
know what you mean. I know what you want. I don't want to be because that creates some issues for me. Listen, the last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of stuff that I don't like to see as a superintendent as far as driving and everything else. It's got to be released. We all know that. There's certain people that I'm tickled that they're out there playing. I'm glad that they can play the game, but there's also a lot of people that use the whole. But that being said, I mean, my goal is to get you good fairways, get you a good 5/8, whatever you guys want, where you actually have some turf there. I mean, there's a lot of thin areas. They've gotten better, but it's going to take us 6 to 8 months to try to get them where they're. You know, everybody will go pay for that big price. They'll pay that $200. They'll go play a great golf course, and then they'll come home and they'll go, "Why isn't ours like that?" But we didn't look at what they're spending on those budgets out there. I'm trying to get you the most out of you, but I promise you that. If you want to oversee, I'll oversee.
No, I wanted you to explain to people how you shouldn't do it, and you've done a fairly good job. Unfortunately.
I think overseer last year came up because somebody said, one of the guys said, "Why don't we oversee it? Some of the better a couple of years ago." So we went to you guys and said, "Why don't we oversee? We're hearing that's gonna work." You guys said, "Okay." You didn't say no, you said, "Okay."
And they didn't tell me about nematode problems, and they didn't tell me about this.
I mean, my point is, these 5 people on the board, with the exception perhaps of them, know very little about maintaining the documents.
Well, I hope that we can set, I mean, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have this conversation this time next year, and you're gonna have to much better thought. I'm confident with what I
And they won't have the conversation.
Well, I hope not, but I mean, I promise you, I'm gonna do everything I can to, like I told you all when you interviewed me, that's my business card out there, and I'm gonna do everything I can. I've put a lot of hours in since I've been here. I mean, that, I won't be happy until you guys can all accumulatively say that, you know, we're going in the right direction. I know it's hard to go out there and see that when the turtle was closed, that we had and cleaned all that cocaine area that we sprayed. I know it's hard because we take a lot of stuff for granted when we're out there, but it's just general maintenance. But I mean, I promise you, I don't ride each golf course with blinders on. I try to see everything and I try to look at it as if I'm a decent player as well. I try to look at it from the playability and also look at the liabilities. I mean, I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want to be the one that has to explain to you why our fairways weren't good or why we lost a $50 round because we didn't oversee it. I don't want that.
You convinced me, I no longer would vote for the overseas.
Okay, you're on record, thank you.
Thank you. Was that recorded?
That was recorded.
I would make one comment. The major reason that you oversee is to cover up a problem.
Well, but I never knew what the problem was because nobody's told me what the problem was.
Well,
But the fact was, I know that I saw what I call very nice looking golf courses the last 2 years.
yeah,
And I will be,
they look good.
I'm still around.
But, you know, I believe Jimmy knows what he's talking about, and I agree.
That's the only reason I said that I acquiesced.
All right, so we'll make those adjustments for,
I do have a question actually on the budget. For you, I don't know how I missed this the first time. Why would we be planning green fees less than this year?
because of the large increase in membership. So a lot of those membership folks, if they go from being a non-member and playing, then the rounds fall under the green fee one. If they become a member, then the rounds fall under member. So we're expecting the increase in rounds and member rounds, which also takes away tee times from selling as green fee rounds. So those, they kind of fluctuate together. So if membership rounds go up, public rounds go down, and if membership rounds go down, then you darn better have that on the rounds. Well, I mean, the membership dollars is up about $100 and something thousand. So.
Yeah, but we raised it 5% too.
Yeah, it's just projections, I think, the budgets, I mean,
That's right.
the budget is the budget.
Historical, what does that do?
Yeah, we look at historical data and all that as well. So,
We get
I mean, we're gonna try to get as much green fee revenue as possible without upsetting the apple cart, so.
That's a separate conversation, which I think somebody ought to have one of these days, and that if we supposedly have the best course in Highlands County, of course is, perhaps we should start charging them for it.
I think that's entirely true. And also, I think that the other courses price off our price. If we charge 50, they're gonna charge 47. So if we charge 52, they're gonna charge 49. So I think we have the opportunity, and I think they do a pretty good job of maximizing. I know a lot of my cheap northern friends would rather play one of the others for $25 instead of paying $50 here. But they still come here every once in a while, or every once a week or something.
But keep in mind that $90,000 loss. Holes out of play for the irrigation work, the member times are going to take up even more of the available time to consent. So that's the reduction in green speed is unreasonable.
Right.
Well, I think Mike already commented, what's on the rate sheet, you're not gonna go underneath it, right?
Right, we have our guidelines and, we have maximum rates and minimum rates, and obviously,
The rate sheet, you said you're not gonna go above.
we have a maximum and a minimum. So we have the minimum rate that's on there, which is the resident rate, which we have agreed to, and then we have we actually went up $10 to have the maximum rate, so we can, utilize dynamic pricing a little better. So we have a maximum rate, which is the maximum posted rate, which is on that sheet, and the minimum posted, or the minimum we can charge. So we are looking at that resident rate.
Cheaper to play at 8 o'clock than it is 10 o'clock.
Absolutely.
What are we charging now?
We have regular rates, twilight rates.
What are we charging for somebody who comes in and wants to play?
If they, depends on what time they want to play.
Well, I don't know, the rate says, if I'm looking at the rate, I'm charging what the rate says.
So you're looking at proposed, we're at the end of July,
So we're charging
July
right now
rates in the
$27 minimum.
that's, you're
That's what
looking,
it says, but that's not true.
but you,
That's like the 10 o'clock rate, if you play at 8 o'clock, you play it cheaper.
if you play at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's $22.
It depends on when.
Well, then what you're saying is not true. It wouldn't be true.
You can't put, well, T-sheet would be,
There is no
5 sheets
minimum
long.
rate. My point is, there is no minimum. Correct?
I don't really.
Well, if it says 27, so if you're charging 22 right now, the 27 is not a minimum rate.
That's
So
the standard.
you're pulling that $27 rack rate off of that sheet right there.
Well, it says resident member, so that's the lowest rate you just said that we charge.
Correct.
Well, you already, and then you said we're charging 22.
At max, well, that rate sheet is for next year, not this year. Now, however, that number is 25 or 26 right now. Now that, we're talking prime time, tea times. If we say we're gonna have a maximum rate of $27 at July at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I think we're making a huge mistake. That's far off from standard practice at any golf facility on the planet.
I don't want to hog right now. My point is, you're not getting enough money for what this course has. You know, that's my opinion.
I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to go to dynamic pricing.
The market will tell you.
When we talked about it earlier, you know, I think it was budgeting, there was one in the workshop. It's just, we talked about going to dynamic pricing. To let the market, to where we could go up, and that was one of the reasons why we asked for maximum minimum pricing to go there. Because, yeah, I agree that we haven't seen the prices of this facility there since the government. And that going to that dynamic pricing system will allow us more flexibility, to see this 25 times worth coming out at $32 rather than the posted rate of 27. You know, that's kind of where, if the gas is supposed to rain all day, maybe it is $22. Just try to get somebody out there. So it's really flexible, it's like sitting next to someone on their time. You don't know what they pay. I thought it's kind of that way. So we're trying to maximize the pricing, and I think that's one of the things that we work hard at, is trying to get it, when we go forward, is get it out of the hands of the staff. Make it more clear about it. Okay, that's fine. I'm good.
Did we just agree with dynamic pricing?
No, we just came back to it.
No, that's what you used to create your budget.
Correct. We just re-explained it. That's all.
So the last one is the utility fund. There were no changes to that fund from the second workshop to the third workshop. That one's making a net profit of $789,775. The last one is the capital projects fund, which includes both irrigation projects and the water meter system for a total of $2,950,000.
I got two questions. On the general fund, on maintenance, landscaping, where you put the free money, you went to 15 and 25,000. Take that free money and put it aside again. I don't think 15,000 is enough to maintain. Needed to be maintained. And I think that's what the next back is the way sometimes it goes. So I would say perhaps.
A lot of the maintenance is included in the roads and drainage and buildings and grounds. It's not just that number. That would be assuming or just if we replace plants or something. But that doesn't include the labor.
I think we're trying to cut it, at least where we get a better idea of what maintenance is, or trees and mowing and I think that's what Ray's talking about, but it's just hard until we go through a year. And we can track what actually mowing is, what we spend on I mean, it's hard to do a budget if you have no idea what it's costing. It's all thrown into one thing.
You haven't broken down into further detail. We can bore you as much as you want to be bored.
Well, it's just hard, we just throw out numbers and it's a guess, and, you know. I don't care, it's been going on, so we do what we do, so. It's,
I feel like one other thing in the capital, I would like to consider moving the pool fiscal 2023. Right now, it's scheduled for 23.4, which means the summer of 19.2. The summer of 24 is when it will be done. I'd like to have it done the summer of 23. I don't know why we would wait. We don't have anything big in the summer of 23. that I am aware of.
No, I think the reason why we did that was to try to replenish some of the reserves. We're
But it
taking
would still, according to your numbers, it would still be, if we moved it, it would still be above the $6 million bank account. And then we would look at it.
As long as we don't have more manholes. Right. As long as we don't absorb the capital by repairing 50 manholes.
Both of them are holes in the ground. So. We don't know. You know.
Just make bigger manholes and swim in.
Sure. The other piece of the whole pool issue is how much grant money can we get?
Right. Is it available that for that? The pool?
FERDAP, yes, more than likely, we would be able to go for a FERDAP. My understanding is the most you can get for that, it's a 200 match. Not that 200 is better than nothing without a shadow of a doubt, but when we look to go forward with the pool, I would definitely recommend that we speak with Corbett and see if there's anything in addition to FERDAP. So the way that FERDAP works is they have like a ranking, you're kind of in a zone, if you will, and there's like a rank of importance, if you will, and in our zone, swimming pools are pretty low. But we could look and see if there were other sources available that we could try and apply for.
Is there something because the public is be allowed, isn't there something there?
And that's if we take any public funds. So even if we were to take money from RPAC in any public funds, then
That's what's.
yes.
One of the considerations, if you're planning on doing that, you probably ought to look seriously at financing the meters, because we know we can do that. So that would leave that much more money. So
Well, I mean, like I said, there's money there, according to his number.
So at the end of this next year, we're down to 6.8 million. Correct? See that?
What page is it?
That's page 6. We're looking at 21, 22, which is the year we're working on right now.
Yeah, at the end of next year.
At the end of next year, if we do all the projects, we pay for all the irrigation, we pay for everything. It'll be 6.8.
We're at 7, 8.
But that's not including the pool. So if you take the pool in there,
You still at 6.
you're going down like $1 million.
To 6. Still above 6.
Right.
And we're at 7.
Where is the pool?
It's in the next year, the 1.7.
That's 1.7.
Yeah.
But isn't that worst case scenario?
Yeah.
Right, so there's, we have a lot of potential to reduce that number.
the only worst case scenario that's not in there is all the manholes to Neil's point.
But I'm just trying to get the mentality of trying to do the pool here. Next year we may say we can't do
You can probably do that fairly easily if you actually finance the meter.
it. Well, the meters are in that 2.9. Meters are in it.
That's what I'm
Right now.
saying. If you finance the meters, then you're down to the 7 coming out of your reserves this year. Right.
Right.
So then you would never go below the 6 million. They actually probably be 7.
Well, I thought the meter conversation was because I had has to be replaced approximately every 10 years.
Correct. So
And we
you,
would just say we're gonna fund it,
so we could finance them for 10 years if you want to.
and then finance it again for another 10 years, and just run it
Correct.
through
That's all right.
The state fund.
Correct.
Zero interest.
Yeah, they say you should start replacing with 10, there's nothing magic about that. And the meters that we're looking at are not the mechanical meters, so they probably won't wear out as quickly. So you might get 15 to 17 out of it.
So out of that 2.9, that 1,200,000, that 1,200,000 becomes like 130,000 a year.
Correct.
Which would put us in a much more comfortable position.
Exactly. So if you wanted to move the pool up, that would be the strategy to do it within your reserve.
That's what I would like to see, but I don't wanna wait till the summer. Unless we have.
You know, that swimming pool, I think until we get some answers on the manhole, I don't even know.
We should have some answers on the manhole this year.
Yeah, before we start
I would
moving
think-
around, this is just payment.
We can move it up next year if it makes sense after we get the manhole. Or take over it.
But if we're even contemplating that, we should try to get an SRF fund to do the meters as opposed to taking that out of reserve. Once that's done, then your opportunity is passed.
And with the cameras, we may find more than just manholes, we may find some sewer issues going on.
Do we need to start that process now?
I think we are.
We already
For
have.
the meters.
For the meters,
Yeah, they explained that we couldn't do that SR funding until we got firm pricing.
Correct.
So
We
until
have
we
to
get the
get firm
RFP
pricing.
pricing, then we do the application, then we get the money.
All right.
They won't just fund it for
It's a
1.2 right now.
it's a linear operation. We aren't far enough along yet.
I mean, according to your numbers, we have $2 million in budget, correct?
Correct. The numbers are good.
I mean,
One of the conversations,
petrol on the states.
one of the practices that has been happening, once again, I don't have an opinion either way. The reason why these numbers are so good is because the utility fund is funding. So you're taking utility money to pay for a pool. You're taking utility money to pay for an irrigation project. That's not typical practice. That's not what we should be doing. What we should be doing is I pay for assessments to cover the golf course and the roads, the drainage. That's where the money is coming from. And right now, your general fund only has 3.3 million. You have to keep 2 million in there. So you only have $1 million to spend for general fund projects. We're spending 1.7 for irrigation. So you pretty much use all the general fund money for your projects. Now, if we want to continue to dip from utilities, we always have and we can. That's just not typical practice. So one of the conversations.
What, if it's not typical practice, can you suggest?
Suggesting we need to start allocating, because right now, when we looked at page 3, the general fund is not making money. We have no money to save or plan for capital projects. Because we're losing money on our own and we're having to subsidize the golf capital. We need to get to a point where that's making enough money to cover these capital projects and setting aside money to grow that fund back up. We're not doing that.
We need to do two things. We need to lower the loss, if you will, in the golf and restaurant operation, and probably continue to do what you did this year, and that is increase assessments until you get that, squeeze that.
You're talking about raising assessments.
And then maybe we can just take a breath. I mean, we need to do this golf thing.
Yeah.
But we need to take a break.
Absolutely.
I mean, since I've been on the board in 6 years, we have spent millions and millions on the golf course. I mean, I'm not apologizing for that.
Of course.
It's, we just gotta take a break and maybe not do so much somewhere. We've been spending a lot of money.
We don't have a choice if we want to stay out of problems with swift mud.
I agree. I mean, I'm not apologizing.
But
We've certainly been proactive.
we need to squeeze these guys. And here's the issue. You cannot continue to, some things are mutually exclusive. If you cut your expenses, eventually you run out of expenses to cut. You have to grow the top line revenue. We have to grow the top line revenue in the golf course. We have to grow the top line revenue even more on the restaurant. And if we can't sooner or later, you're gonna have to face the fact that, okay, maybe we can't operate a restaurant. Or maybe we need to get somebody in here to lease it.
How much, the golf and the restaurant is gonna make money next year. Outside of the
It's losing.
outside of the apartments and the vehicles and the maintenance agreement.
Which comes from the general fund.
It's gonna make money.
All that money comes from the general fund.
Yeah.
So the
Don't
golf
know
fund,
where it's coming from. I'm saying the golf is gonna make, the golf and restaurant will make money outside of those two factors.
Correct.
I don't know how much more you think.
Well, maybe, we don't know if the budget goes like it's supposed to.
It's projected to, but you're always gonna have a cart lease, or you're always gonna have to replace your carts. You're always gonna have to replace your cutting equipment, so you're never gonna get rid of that.
So to think you realistically ever gonna get to zero is really a stretch.
I never said zero, I said you have to squeeze, them. This has to come up, this has to come down.
I mean, it's being squeezed right now. It's not.
It is somewhat squeezed, but, and where I was going is, I don't think you can squeeze much more expenses out of there, you gotta grow some revenue.
Right.
That's
That's one of the things that Dan and I talked about the other day. Every time we get on Indigo about the restaurant, it's them, their response is how to cut services to reduce expenses instead of increasing revenue. And I'm tired, I mean, you're never gonna increase revenue by closing the place. And we close it Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
In the summer.
But that mentality, they don't want to grow the restaurant. They just want it to be the way it is. Let us cut the hours so that we can try to break even, which they're not. But there's no idea on how to improve the revenue stream from the restaurant. Never. It's always to cut expenses.
I wish I hadn't told them they could leave, I didn't hear this. But I don't.
Well, they're gonna hear it.
This wouldn't be the first time.
Whenever it's August 13th.
It has to change. We have to grow to top line revenue both ways.
Is next meeting the one that they're gonna show up with the?
Correct.
Okay. I know they were supposed to be this one, but.
But yeah, to Ray's point, he was entirely correct. Operationally, we're pretty close to breaking even, making a little bit of money, assuming that they do what they think they can do. But you gotta cover that. Somehow you gotta cover that cost.
But I still argue also on this utility fund. The utility fund is as viable as it is. Partly because this golf course draws people here, which increases the residents, which increases the utility fund. So to me, to say that the utility fund shouldn't be part of the general fund at all, I don't agree with that.
Because the purpose of the charge, so if you're a brand new resident, you don't play golf, and you pay a water bill, then technically you say, I'm glad my water bill, portion of that's going to the golf course. Makes 0 sense. Now, I moved to this community because it's a golf course community, and part of my assessments maintain the golf course makes perfect sense. The problem is we've always charged more utility rates and never charged more assessments for the right purposes. So your assessment dollars should go to cover roads, drainage, maintenance, golf, all the amenities, and it's insufficient right now. We're losing 500,000 as a whole.
But the only reason the utility fund is growing is because of the amount of residents that come here because of what we are.
That's why the whole assessments are growing, the utilities are growing because people are paying more for their water bill. And arguably, that capital that we're building in the utility fund should go toward building new sewer.
Well, I understand that. I understand that.
But to say that, that's my point, is we're completing it. We built a maintenance building, a kitchen, irrigation, and now a pool, all from utility dollars. None of it's coming from the assessment, so it's very
That's a
difficult.
philosophical discussion that we can have for 6 days and never come to resolution. It just depends on which way you're looking at it. But one of the good news scenarios, if you will, is that the district has sold 500 lots. You get 500 more houses where everybody's problems are over.
Yeah, even if we, half of them are golfers, and that's a problem, we're getting a lot of people here that's not golfers.
Some of our golfers
It's all
are not
the
necessarily
10%.
members. Some of our golfers are not necessarily members. The question is,
Yeah.
how much the golf will play? But the bottom line is.
That's right. But I think there's a reason why all cities and towns across America are struggling with their golf courses and stuff. I mean, it's simple.
Water hole sold out to be a housing development for a reason. But, if you think about 500 more residents this year, and that's before we even sit down and talk to Forney and these other guys.
Right.
I mean, there's another 100, 200, depending on concentration they want to do in the next 5 years. With $700 or $728 a year times 700,000, 700.
I think we're going in the right direction. I don't think things are perhaps as gloomy as it sounds. The problem is that all this is done for the service of the. Yeah, I mean, that's really the problem. I mean, we went from-
up in the morning, with another rock.
we had no problems, so now we need $24 million or something.
I think you should fire me immediately.
I mean, I look at the numbers case up days ago, last night. And I'm very comfortable that we can actually do anything that we do. Once we put it down and get some money. And it's a big nut.
Yeah.
It is a big nut.
It is.
But I think it can be done. And, so I don't feel bad as I think. With that email.
I don't know what else could go wrong other than the members at this point.
Well, don't say that.
They'll show you.
Something will happen.
That one manhole, I don't know, Dan shared it was 29,000.
That's, I think the biggest thing is maintenance, to come back and maintain both sides.
That's absolutely true. If you did all that drainage work, then you're not really gonna save any money.
It's maintenance and then facing the problem as it happens, not pushing the can, pushing the can down the road.
Right.
And we would have gotten ourselves into this.
That's absolutely right. Although, we didn't have the revenue sources 10, 15 years ago.
Right. And I think it all started back 7, 6, right before the crash. We got into a lot of. Okay, is there anything else, guys, girls? Okay, thank you for your time.